Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 119 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by the 60 FPS god himself, Lord Cognito. Let's get a little spicy early on, shall we?
Yeah, we going straight forward, ain't we? All about them frames, man. All about them frames, man. We got to talk about things out here. Yeah, man. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy week. I'm hanging in, man. Hanging in by a thread. Work's been absolutely nuts. You know, business stuff has been nuts. Just try to survive, brother. Try to survive, but you got to come
tread
in.
in water, as we always say.
You know how it is. Just try to keep your head above water with content and life. But
yes.
Yeah, we got things to talk about. My massive show. You know, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I continue to struggle with my sleep, as we spoke about on DDU. So try and figure that out. But otherwise, we're doing fine. And today, it's every Wednesday, man. We step into the show day and I go, what's our number one? You know, what's the number one topic? And I'm like, Xbox, you shouldn't have. Like, that's been the memo this year. You shouldn't have. Developer direct on a Wednesday. You shouldn't have. Redfall 30 FPS on a Wednesday. You shouldn't have. For those who don't know, we record our shows on Wednesdays. So we're privy to that news cycle. And, Xbox seems to love their Monday through Wednesday, and we do too. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. For those of you who are interested in getting this show a couple of days early over on patreon.com/laststandmedia, you can sign up there. Otherwise, the show hits free feeds like Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff on Sunday. Furthermore, you can watch the video version on YouTube if you're curious about what we look like. Because I remember one time I read a review on mobile, I think this was last year, that someone said that they've never even seen what we look like. They just like listen to the show. And I'm sure it's a very low percentile, but it's cool that reach is getting to that point.
Yes.
Just like people don't even know who the hell we are. We might pass them on the street. They don't even know. I love that stuff. But you can get not only early access to the show, Defining Duke Ultimate, episode 108 is out. We apologize that was late. That's on me. Messed up the schedule. We had Constellation and our DD episode. I told Micah when we were scheduling, I was like, yo, I'll do 3 episodes. Normally, for those who don't know, when we moved DDU to bi-weekly, we all agreed, like, the Dukes are on a 2-episode-a-week max cadence. I said, no problem. We'll do an extra. I forgot the schedule. It's on me. So I apologize that it's late. Episode 108 is out now, though. It's about Joe Staten's next move, which we'll talk about briefly here. But he has now left Xbox entirely after moving from 343 to Microsoft. So we dive deep into what that could be, whether it's moving to PlayStation, his own studio, Bungie, and the ins and outs of that, as well as what could be next for Halo, of course, because that was like one of their main story dudes. And so now we know he's completely out of the mix. What does that mean moving forward? We discuss. So go ahead and check all of that out. Patreon.com/laststandmedia.
No doubt. Yeah, great show.
Now, Cog.
Yo.
Time for a couple of reviews.
Let's do it.
Little mobile reviews here. We got another handful. We appreciate y'all doing this. Again, a reminder, the reason we're doing this is to try to grow the mobile presence of Defining Duke to help us get a little bit more reach. If you notice, numbers are bumping up a little bit. I think our thumbnail game's been strong. We're kind of finding our foot in here a little bit.
Shout out to Dustin.
Yeah, I'm really liking where we're at right now. These last couple of weeks, I felt really good about it. So thank you for being a part of the success of Defining Duke. Next one, this one is such a good review. I have to skip over one. We'll go back to it. But
let's go.
Some Zero 2008 writes, how does one know if Matty is developing a video game? Don't worry, he'll tell you.
yeah, I see dudes talking slick. I see dudes like, oh yeah,
it's fair.
Yeah. And by the way, he gonna mention that he did.
Yeah. It's fair. Like, I get it. I totally get it. Here's my problem as a host, I think. Like, I think we all have our little quirks as a host. Mine is the fear of the new viewer coming in and wondering if I'm talking out my ass. When I'm talking about game development, I'm like, I don't want you to think I'm some phony or I'm just some loudmouth on the mic. It's like, no, I got experience. So I feel like I got to preface it with, by the way, I'm developing a game. I'm just like, it's such a bad habit now, but one day it will be out. We actually have, funny enough, a question on it. So we'll talk about that. But it's totally fair. I definitely bring it up more times than I probably should.
We all got our quirks. I have our minds too.
All right, we got one here from Gaz the Man. What can you say about Matty and Cog but amazing? Do you agree with them all the time? No, but I know we will have a great discussion, and it makes me think about the industry in a new way. They really are the dynamic duo. As Tina Turner would simply say, simply the best.
Oh,
I love
that. Classic song.
Love
too.
that.
Much love.
All right, we got a longer one here from J&J Rank. I wrote a huge review here today and it's not showing up. Ugh. In a nutshell, subscribe to this pod. It's also great for non-Xbox gaming news. It's a wonderful addition to the Last Stand Media Network. I think, oh no, I think I should really just vet these before I start reading them.
What he do?
I think Matty hates me because he never reads my Patreon questions, but I suspect that's because they're overly vulgar and often ridiculous. Perhaps making incest jokes isn't a great way to get your question read on air. Either way, I still love them. Cog is the man. He's like the Don of gaming, a real OG. Cog looks like if a member of the Boys to Men decided to hit the gym every day and secretly become a total nerd for video games. That MFer brings me amazing energy to every single show. He'll always make me smile. Thanks and have a, my questions don't get read because Matty tries to run a cleaner show than Sacred Symbols, but I still like him anyway, kind of dead. Thank you, Ben. We definitely run a cleaner show than Sacred Symbols, technically, but I mean, we do embrace like the poops, the nastiness of our audience at times. We have a write in here that calls me the titty gobbler. I think Sacred Symbols is A-rated, we're M-rated. Like we're still up there.
We're still up there. I would definitely say that the content questions prior to the gaming is what kind of really separates. We get into that pocket, but that's hilarious. True. That dude's. Hey, it was funny. I see that like dudes be really they feeling if Matty don't read that question, man. I've been getting the front line for you. I'll be like, yo, it's a ton of. He has to make tough decisions. There's a lot of times you guys are right on the block. You know,
because here's how I look at it. Like we'll get into it a little bit with our Redfall section, but if you want your question read, it's not like if you're immature or whatever. Like it's about creativity. Like there will always be the straightforward question. Hey, Dukes, what do you think about 30 FPS Redfall? You're our setup man. Good. Now there's like a layer deeper question. Like, what do you guys think this means for Starfield? That's an easy way to get in. Like I try to tell people all the time, like I will pack this show with dozens of questions if I can, because if you're our setup man, like that's all you're doing. Like we're just letting you tee up the ball so we can hit it, right? That's what we're trying to do here. So keep writing in, keep getting creative. We've been getting more and more of those. This week I hustled a little bit. I got into the Patreon Discord, Cog, and I was like really muscling in there. I was like, where's the question on Persona 3 Remake? Where's the Old Republic conversation? Okay. I was like, I'm expecting questions about Redfall. The audience responded. And so there are plenty of questions in this show. So I totally get where folks are disappointed at times. I try, but that's what happens. We're getting more write-ins, more diversity. I love that.
Salute.
All right, one last one. And then, and that's why we also do this mobile review thing. It's pretty much a guarantee to get read. We have Lord Ramanas writing in. DD is just getting better each week. The hosts of the show are so engaging. I just have to listen every week. They play so well off each other. You can tell they're genuinely friends. Been listening since episode 1 and each is better than the last. Highly recommended. Thank you again, everyone, for participating, for helping our lovely little show here. Yes. The Dukes truly do appreciate the reviews, and we are pushing into that 1,000 ratings area. So thank you. It does help out a lot.
This is helpful. And to shout to everybody also that I get the tweets, the direct messages and stuff as well as saying how much they love it. And I think to me what always resonates, getting a lot of, hey, I don't have Xbox. You know, I'm a PlayStation fan. And you know, I really love the show. For whatever reason, it just hits different for me. And I'm just like, that's cool. You know what I mean? So, salute to everybody.
I agree. And we get cool write-ins like this here from Jack Thomas. What's up, Dukes? First time writing in, not really a question, but just a thank you both for the quality entertainment you guys give me every week. Hearing both of you talking about some ways to improve your health and Cog's Super Saiyan training on Twitter has been motivating me to do better throughout the past years. Last year, on this day, I weighed 275. Now I weigh 240, and I'm able to bench a total of 330 pounds, bro. My wildest dreams. That's sick. Whew. I also went from working a dead-end job with no advancements to working at Warner Bros. Discovery as a systems administrator. Just want to thank you guys and share the positive influence you had on my life. Keep up the good work, Dukes. Yo, we love to see that. That is awesome. I
love to hear that. Boy,
that's a huge step forward across the board. It's amazing. This is what happens in 1 year. Don't ever give up. This is what can happen in just 1 year.
Bro, I tell people all the time, you start taking care of yourself physically and you start feeling better about yourself physically, it affects you mentally, and then that also can permeate into life. You know what I'm saying? You approach life different. Salute to the sis admin job. Boy out here doing it, man. Salute to him. That's great to hear, Jacques. I like to hear that.
100%. So thank you for writing in. As promised, there was this write-in about the game that I'm working on, by the way, in case you're wondering, I'm working on a game. So, I just wanted to go ahead and address it. Quantum Radish writes, Dukes, quick question for Matty today. Do you have any sort of update on your game? You've been mentioning it here and there. That's being generous on the podcast, but it's been a while since we've had an update. And I'm sure many of the listeners here think you have pretty great taste in games. I'm going to put a pause there. I don't know. I think I have the questionable taste of the two, but I appreciate it. That's why we listen to your opinions. This is to say, I'm sure many of us are very intrigued by what you're making. Just want to know if you have any sort of info you could share. Have a cog sitting there patiently while Matty reads and then answers a question for himself.
That's good. That's good. They on it today. They on it. I like they on it today. I love this.
I do love it, man. So the update is this. We were in the pitching process. I want to keep it transparent because I feel like not enough devs do this. We're in a really good spot right now. So we were in the pitching process to start off the year. Like we had something we wanted to show off. And as we were looking at it and getting some responses from different publishers, we were like, okay, let's reel back and let's work on this. So right now the goal is to start pitching again toward the end of this year once we're kind of in that alpha state. But right now we're finishing up previs. We're kind of mapping out the rest of the entirety of the game, which we already had in documentation. Now it's about, all right, let's make maps. Let's start creating the content itself, blocking it out, which is just tiling out like where you're going to be walking the playable space and all that stuff. And you'll decorate that later on in production. But we're in a pretty good spot right now where we're a team of 7. We're getting a lot of writing done. The main story script is over halfway done on my end, which is exciting. And a lot of concept art. I hope we can make like an art book one day because I just think that the ideas we have on the team right now are just, the world we're making is really, you don't want to say too much because I believe in the Todd Howard mantra. Like I want to wait as long as I can, but I think the world we're making is really unique and I'm extremely proud of it. Of course, like the first time excitement, when you get that first girlfriend, kind of like, everything's perfect, the honeymoon thing. There's a lot of lessons that'll be learned, but right now, I feel very good about it. Everyone on the team's working hard. Everyone's motivated. We're in healthy work conditions too, which I'm really proud of. We did, as we were wrapping up one of our demos, we went through like a minor crunch period where all of us had to work hard to finish it up in December. And it was pretty terrible. And like we were all agreed, like, okay, now we know, let's never do that again. So we started off the year, we mapped everything out, and we've been really clicking away on all cylinders. A lot of systems coming live early, which is always great. Like our programmer was doing a couple of things that are key to our game. He's like, yeah, this will take me until June, and he got them live this month. And so we're ahead, nice. Which is good. It's kind of the mantra we adopted after December. We learned that lesson. We were like, as long as we stay ahead, this game will come out all right. And we've seen that. We learned a lot of valuable lessons. And so, we're in a good spot. Of course, the thing I've learned with game development is there's a lot of surprises, but I'm very pleased with where we're at. I know Cog, you've seen it. You seem to like what you laid your eyes on, and I think visually our game is stunning. So I'm just super excited to show you all one day. I don't think it'll be a super long time in the scheme of actual game development, but you may be hearing me say for another year or two, I'm working on a game, by the way. So, I apologize. Maybe I pulled the trigger early, but again, I think it just gives good context to our conversations here on Duke and on my channel and on Retro Rebound that I'm not just shooting from the hip here and I'm learning, and I just want to keep passing the information. So that's how things are going. I'm pretty happy with where the whole team's at, and no concerns right now, which is good. It's a good sign of where we're at with the game.
No doubt, man. He's working, doing multiple things. Hard.
Now, I wanted to keep the balance here, based off Quantum Radish's writing. Anytime I get a direct question, I'm like, I want to give Cog one as well. I thought this one was interesting, Cog, because we do see a lot of people, especially on Twitter, tagging you, yo, bro, got Midnight Suns. This person had contacted me on my personal Patreon and was like, do you think Cog would appreciate this? I don't want to put a pin in his balloon. I said, Cog loves this type of stuff, man. Like, let's balance it out. So this is a more critical look at Midnight Suns. I'm just curious, of course, what your thoughts were on this. So Hunt writes, hello, King Cog and Mount Matty. Everyone seems super high on Midnight Suns, but I'm more so thinking this game is an interesting first step. Playing as a no-name in a comic book setting effectively removes the dynamic interaction that draws in most fans. Further, the centralized location of the game removes the sense of exploration present in most comics. These issues are compounded by limited gameplay, gone are the dynamics of unit positioning while you march across the battlefield. The recurring bosses make progress in the game feel one step forward, two step back. overall, I'm pretty happy with the game, but I feel like there's a lot of room to grow. So, Cog, as someone who's a super fan of this game, we've had a lot of conversation about Midnight Suns. It may not be relevant to a lot of the community, but for us here on DD, it's super relevant. I just want to know how you felt about this approach here. Do you think it's fair? Do you agree in some aspects? Do you disagree?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think what it is it's two-part. I've had this conversation with Addict because he's not on the Midnight Suns train, and this is like Lord turn-based as well. And I think what it is it's two-part. One, I can understand the criticism as far as being like the hunter, the no-name that, you're not playing as Spider-Man, you're not playing as Wolverine, as the favorites, and I get that. But I think if you objectively look at it from a game design standpoint, it'll be hard to do in a turn-based format. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the beauty, what I realized, because I'll be honest, I came in with trepidation, like, I don't know how this is going to work. One, with the cards, and it's not traditional XCOM and turn-based and units, right? And then the second, like he said, like Hunt said, which is, I'm playing as someone else. But the beauty of playing as someone else is that you are able to have these in-depth perspectives, because what happens is the hunter is, the story is he's been, kind of dead for years and resurrected. He don't know who all these people are in this time frame. So what's fun about it and it's cool about it is I'm learning about Spider-Man through the perspective of someone who knows nothing really about this person, right? And you start to, the lore comes out a little bit better, the discovery, and then sometimes just matter-of-fact questions. Well, why do you have this issue with Eddie Brock? Like, what? Like, I don't get that. Isn't the symbiote something that you both share? Shouldn't this unify you? So he comes from like playful ignorance. So to me, it's a beauty of the game, right? But again, I understand, because here's the other counter argument as far as Midnight Suns, which is around the turn-based and the units, like Hunt was saying. And the thing about it is that I can understand the decision for Axis Men to say, look, we can't have the Hulk behind cover. You know what I'm saying? Like it just,
that is a fair point.
Think about it, right? I understand that the hardcore XCOM guys are like, yo, because there's a game that we reviewed at PAX East called Capes, and they actually kind of go with that approach with superheroes. And some people say, hey, this is what I want Midnight Suns to do. But I think
it's a cool name, Capes.
Capes is cool. Capes, it has a lot of potential. I think with the properties of Marvel, to tell a Marvel guy you're going to put these guys in behind cover and they're going to be this slow plot is just not going to work. So I think the card system kind of came about. But look, it's not going to be for everyone. I'm very clear about that. But what I'm very surprised about, to be honest, I thought this was just going to be in the cut for me. This is my secret love child that I'm like, I love it. And then to see people actually try it and be like, no, Cog, you was right. I love it too. Shout out to my man Neo Game Spark, and he's like, bro, you're not giving enough credit.
I saw it.
He said, bro, this got a lot of Persona vibe. I said, I didn't want to go there because I didn't want to upset the Persona crew, but I felt it too. So it's just one of those things. I think it's
going to Neo Game Spark. That dude's awesome.
Oh, he's awesome. That's the man. But we got to get him on sometime too.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, that's my guy. So what I would say, I think it's going to go down as a cult classic. I think it's one of those that when it goes away,
stings a little bit to say that though.
I know
it deserves more. It sounds like
it deserves more, but but shout out to Hunt. These are fair criticism for people who love the traditional style and about the Marvel interaction and the way they handle. I can understand those. That's critical.
Awesome. Well, with that, we'll pause the chatter with the audience. We got a lot of game news to sift through today across Xbox and the rest of the industry. Let's start off with the big one here. The murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. It has been downloaded over 1 million times.
Wow.
Sonic's not dead after all. I've been holding that one in all week.
Yeah, you get the pop off. You get the pop off.
Hold the applause.
You get the pop off. Well-deserved pop off.
No, I think this is great because there was actually, when I was playing it, a moment I went, they could do more with this. Like, this is totally something they could either gimmick up and just do it every April Fool's, like maybe a sequel or something, or they could actually go full-blown visual novel, make a 10-hour game out of it and actually sell it. I think this shows, again, that Sonic is at its height right now in popularity, and I love that Sega isn't backing down and doing less. They're doing more. This is exactly what they should be doing. This is what anyone with a respectable, high-profile IP with that level of flexibility should be doing. And so I'm just thrilled. I just love to see it doing well. It's free to play. Of course, that's going to influence some downloads. It's only 3 hours. That's going to influence some downloads. But they have to be looking at these metrics and wondering, what else beyond the traditional Sonic game that can we do that's cheap, because it's probably going to do well for us. So I hope they continue to push that forward, because a lot of Sonic fans have been displeased. Like Sonic Colors Ultimate was broken, I think, on Switch at launch. There have been issues with Frontiers for a lot of people, and that's fair. So I like that Murder Sonic kind of comes out, and for a lot of people, it's like the best thing they've done in years, quite frankly, probably since Mania. Crazy to think about.
So cool.
Just want to celebrate another 1 million here. Ooh. Another personal one here for me.
For me too.
Cowabunga Collection from Konami. 1 million copies sold. The game came out August of last year, and I was very happy to see this, because it shows the love for the Turtles is alive and well, even for that era, which to be expected to some extent, but I don't know. I didn't expect it to do super, super well. Like I felt, you talked about with like Midnight Suns being your own personal thing. I kind of felt like maybe Shredder's Revenge would have been that to some extent for me. Okay. Like I knew I was super hype, and most people were like, "Oh, I might play that." Mm-hmm. But to see Cowabunga Collection as well now, like joining the ranks and just 1 million plus, Konami I think is definitely going to do another collection with the 2003 Ninja Turtle games that they published. Okay. They said never say never to it. Now that they sold 1 million copies, I think they're going to take those PS2 games, up-res them, put in them a package, and sell them again for sure. I just think it's easy money for them. And I thought this collection was awesome. It's also an easy platinum trophy for those who are interested. But oh my God, if they did the 2003 Turtles games, oh my God, it'd be over for me, bro. I love those games. Battle Nexus, but my friend calls it Butthole Nexus, and I think that's kind of fair. But otherwise, great collection of games for sure.
It is so cool to see this type of resurgence for Turtles, and to see the demand still there. And I'm excited. Then I know this is not directly related, but it's still Turtles, which is your Ronin, man. Like that. I'm just thinking of all these things in the universe, and it's so cool to see that it's being received well.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I'm glad you brought it up. For those who were listening earlier when we talked about The Last Ronin, and I said to pick up the whole set of volumes, it's actually on sale, at least right now it is. It's $20. I got it off Amazon is where I saw it. So if anyone wants to read it, my friend got it. Not a Turtles fan at all. He picked it up and he loved it. So again, if you want to go through it and just get a feel for what Matty's been raving about, a reunion between Eastman and Laird, go ahead, get it. 20 buckaroos over on Amazon. Really worth it. You can finish it in a day easily. Not even a full day, like a couple of hours.
Hardcover?
Hardcover too. Hardcover too.
Hardcover. We got to do the hardcover, man. We got to do it right. Of course. 20 B's. Amazon Prime comes to ball. There it is. Done.
All right, let's go. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. All right. Next up here, I thought this one was interesting. Jim Ryan has said that PlayStation would never recover if they received a bad copy of Call of Duty. Tweaktown has the report, quote, any degradation in the price, performance, or quality of play on PlayStation or any delays of release would quickly harm SIE's reputation and cause a loss of engagement and of players. As SIE CEO Jim Ryan explained to the CMA at the Remedies hearing, if PlayStation received a degraded version of Call of Duty, it would seriously damage our reputation. Our gamers would desert our platform in droves, and network effects would exacerbate the problem. Our business would never recover, end quote. Cog, did you know, like, PlayStation's on the verge of dying, man?
Yeah,
this is it. This is it. Last critical. Leg here. They need
this is critical. Shout out to he going down with the shit, boy. Like, he ain't playing no games.
Say what you will. This man's loyal.
He's going so hard. You got to respect how hard he going, though.
Yeah,
like even though we look at it, these are the most laughable comments I've ever heard about just the mere degradation. Our business of something that we don't own, our business is out of here. So look, he doing what he got to do. I get it, but it is. But let's just say this.
I mean, they know best, right? They know what happens when your console's 1080p and the other's 900p. What happens? So they actually could be looking from that experience and saying, "Yo, you all give us the inferior version. Like, we know how this goes."
In fairness, look, you know what I'm saying? We know what the optics are, right? We know that. Look, it's just it just shows me, I guess with all of this, all I think about is the end game. And if things continue to trend Microsoft's way, and is it a complete refusal to the end? Is there ever a point where there's a break and they say, okay, you know what? We've exhausted all of our options here. The deal's going to go through. Now we're willing, will the pride, because he's going so hard? I'm just curious if the end game is Microsoft is getting this regardless. what is Sony's position here? And then is there any risk? And this is what we got to speak to. Is there any risk of, by them still not signing it, then they're just, have to deal with what they have to deal with. And we're getting close. So hopefully this business will be over with. And
June?
There's a possibility, right? I mean, we'll see. We'll see what's going on.
There's faith restored that June may be the time. So that would be pretty significant if they capped out the showcase with that, just letting everyone know a deal's done. I mean, that's in a perfect world. I think they're just going to be happy it closes whenever it closes. But if they could do that and pull that off, that would probably be a pretty memorable finale or opening. Who knows?
Yeah. I think the CMA addendum definitely changed a little bit of the course direction and the way it's trending. So
for sure,
we shall see.
Yeah, EU's up next, so we'll keep everyone posted. Jez Corden got some updates from our man here. First one is over on Windows Central. He reported that he has heard something is wrong with the relationship between Xbox and Square Enix, saying the blame does not solely fall with Xbox. And I thought this was interesting given our headline last week. We talked about Live Alive, but we got really into the thick of Square Enix games on Xbox and just how many are missing. We said, in fairness, Capcom skipped with Battle Network Legacy Collection. But Jez is indicating what a lot of us are suspecting here, which is, and again, he's got the rock solid pedigree here where we can kind of lean into his word with a little more weight, where he is suggesting that Xbox and Square Enix are not on good terms. And I think the delivery of games kind of speaks to itself, but I think we've heard a number of excuses as to why that would be the case. And so, Cog, does this fallout surprise you at all?
Listen, I defer to Jez here, on the inside information. In terms of the relationship, I just wanted to comment on the side because I know when we talked about it last week, and I saw some comments about, Cog doesn't know what he's talking about because Square just, this game sold well, and I know.
I think I saw that actually.
Yeah, and then I noticed it was deleted. So, but I wanted to, it was, but shout out to them because the person meant no disrespect in fairness, right? But we have to be clear, because I think what it was, they got mad when I was like saying Square might be living on some check to check energy. I think that
I was thinking about that all day today for some reason. That quote was in my head. It's so
that
good.
Quote really set a lot of people off for some reason, right? And I said,
analogies, man, they're fucking powerful. They're fucking powerful.
And listen, guys, look, all I'm saying is we have to be honest about their financial situation. Yeah, there's one or two games may have done really well, but in the grand scheme of things, we have the articles here. Like company financials are down. Square Enix, this is from their own mouth. They're reporting. So that's all I would say. That's why I said there is a possibility that the reason why the relationship is what it is because they may sit there and they look on return investment and say, hey, we're not sure if we're going to sell what we project on your platform. So there's a potential that they could say, hey, if you want it, we demand this for the for the mere existence on your platform, right? And we do know there's cost involved with even, in fairness to Square, there's cost involved with even making a version on Xbox. And if your financials are tight, right, and you're asking for a bag that maybe Microsoft is like, fam, we want it, but that's ridiculous. Again, I am speculating, but we have to be clear that some of this speculation is based on finances and the way that they are doing. We can't say that is not out of the realm of possibility. That's all I'm trying to say. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, if Jez says the relationship is bad, then yeah, I would have to agree because the inconsistencies on which releases are there and not there. Again, explain to me if it is completely unviable to make Square Enix games on Xbox, why is Crisis Core on the Xbox platform? Yeah. Right? Why is Octopath 1 not on the PlayStation platform? These are questions I have not had definitive answers because they're inconsistent. Whenever there's
consistently inconsistent, baby.
There you go. And that's the key. So to me, you giving me, I have to speculate that you're picking and choosing based on situations. And then that's it. So I get it. I mean, that's just, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. Give it time. And then we will see if I'm justified or not. And hey, if I'm not, hey, I'm willing to take the L, as the kids say. But this is what I'm going with right now.
Well, we know that Xbox was pretty displeased with Octopath 2 not making it to the platform like that. Like people within the company were not happy about that. So I think something's foul in the water there. It's obvious, and I do think that there's some type of communication fallout that happened when the Western Division went, because you got to remember, like, they did day one Game Pass with Outriders, but that was really a part of that People Can Fly partnership, Western studio, if you will, or I should say not Japanese studio, where Xbox has historically struggled. So there's some gap here in the communication that's just not existing between Square Enix and possibly other companies beyond Xbox, but still something worth leading into, of course, with Jez reporting this. And I do think the tea will spill eventually. And
it'll come out. For sure. It will definitely come out. And last point is, I'm actually really disappointed for the Pixel remaster not coming. Yeah. That really stung. I was like, wow, that's very strange, Yeah. Hopefully they work it out, man, because this is just something that, Xbox fans hopefully should, be able to be a part of at some point.
Because you got to remember, there was a time when Game Pass was first announced. They're like, all Final Fantasy games are coming to Game Pass. I don't even think they kind of delivered on that promise, by the way, because everyone thought it was coming at once. And I think they gradually came over time and some left before the rest arrived. So
remember that? So again, shows the inconsistency, right? Yeah. They were willing to work. They're willing. It's just back and forth. It'll come out. We will get to the bottom of this one.
100%. Time will tell, though. It's anybody's guess. Sticking with Jez, though, we got another little leak here about Blizzard's new survival game, which is no longer codenamed, he's saying, but is called Odyssey. So there's a little bit of a Reddit post that documents what he talked about on an episode of Xbox 2. You can go listen to it for yourself. But like I said, he mentioned that he's 90% sure that the game is actually called Odyssey. He thinks it's going to be multi-platform. The quote is, "Me saying it's going to be multi-plat isn't based on anything I've heard. It's so close to being completed in a multi-plat context that it doesn't make any sense to pull it, but I could be completely wrong," end quote. He also says, "From what I've seen, it's not going to be super graphically intensive. It has stylized art, cartoony sort of Overwatchy look. And what I saw was very early footage that kind of gave me the impression it's going to be a stylized fairy tale kind of art." And he does expect it to be well optimized and run really well on Series S. So he continues to stay on top of this one here. And I think if this is nearing completion, you have to imagine maybe this is lining up for some type of reveal at the Xbox Game Showcase. I think would be a fair place to expect it. Time will tell on that one, but just a little update on Odyssey. Cog, any thoughts on it?
Look, Blizzard, those guys, they're beasts, man. I love what they do. I like to get anything new from them. You know what I mean? I'm willing to give it a shot. I want to, it's hard to, it's one of those things you got to see it. I will be honest. I always get a little, I won't say negative because that's wrong. Remember when I talk about hashtag just for an energy, right?
Yes.
Whenever I hear new IP, I'm like, okay, what we doing? And I'm lately falling into this
art style.
I've lately fallen into this trap, and I need to stop and be fair until I see it. But just once in a while, I want people to go, yo, new IP, yo, high fidelity graphics, real. You see where I'm going with the just what? Notice the trend, right? And this game could be amazing. I don't want to disrespect this game. I knew nothing about this game. Shout out to Jez. But just for once, I want to hear about new IP with photorealistic graphics or, real time, like aggressive graphically impressed, really looking to push the console. I want to hear that, man. I really do. And it's going to be my theme of the show a little bit as we move on down the topics.
Oh, I get it. Let's stomp out a rumor here. So there was a article that was going around. It got some traction on Reddit too, of people expecting Elder Scrolls 6 to have a multiplayer mode based off a qualification for a Bethesda job post where it says you have to have a strong familiarity with a variety of open world multiplayer games. So a lot of folks looked at that and said, oh, it's got to be Elder Scrolls 6. But it does demand expertise with GEC or the Elder Scrolls construction set. So a lot of folks went, oh, this has got to be Elder Scrolls 6. I think people were quick to forget, though, that Creation Engine 2 is a thing and that it's pretty much a guarantee. I don't want to speak too soon unless Bethesda does another engine overhaul, which I don't anticipate, that Elder Scrolls 6 will probably be built on this engine, especially because they want to maintain modding capability. And that this is a pretty major leap given that Fallout 76 exists. So I just wanted to quickly put that one to rest there. Cog, any thoughts on Elder Scrolls 6 in multiplayer. I think it's possible, by the way, but I don't think this job listing has anything to do with it.
Yeah, I'll defer to you guys. I mean, based on the engine usage and the location of said studio and stuff like that, I would defer to you guys. I don't necessarily buy too much into it just yet. So yeah, I'm with you.
All right, excellent. There was a third update for Hi-Fi Rush. It adds 2D rhythm game assist, auto rhythm parry, collectible information that you can find. Boss Play costume pack is available for purchase as well. So they continue to support it, which we love to see. I wonder if they're going to do any type of DLC announcement, maybe at the showcase.
No.
I think they should just keep working on a sequel. I would like that instead.
Oh, so you would prefer you would prefer sequel as opposed to continued content for Hi-Fi?
Yeah, because I think the sequel kind of writes itself in terms of playable characters, more of those, more play styles within those characters, because you can kind of get a feel for each of them when they were coming in to assist you. I just feel like they should just keep exploring that DMC pocket, because that's what Xbox kind of stumbled upon here, is their own Devil May Cry in a weird way. While it's many more other things, I just feel get to the sequel. Don't mess around with DLC. I think as it's kind of settled in, it's one of the best games of the year. Just keep that quality mark set. Just move on to the next.
Interesting. I think I actually disagree.
I think you gotta milk it. Is that so?
Bro, you gotta hit. You gotta milk this bad boy. Elden Ring outside putting DLC last time I checked.
There's Elden Ring popularity and there's Hi-Fi Rush popularity. In fairness,
are you implying that this is not a high AAA worthy?
I'm just curious about something. Hold on. Elden Ring sales numbers. Okay. So Elden Ring sold over 20 million copies.
Of course.
Now Hi-Fi Rush had 2 million players. That's still justifiable for DLC. Don't get me wrong, but they're doing cosmetic goodies right now, and I feel like that's their way of milking the cow. Come on in, buy some extra stuff. Why reinvest, right?
I'm curious.
The next big thing.
Listen, I'm curious to see how they handle it, because this was definitely, I would feel, a surprise for them from how well it was received, right? So now I'm curious. You got to hit. What do you do? Do you do DLC, or do you say, all right, you know what? All hands on deck for the next one. So listen, either way, I'm fine. I am curious, though, in this case, what they do.
Absolutely. Here's your weird news story for the show. A Konami employee was arrested for trying to murder their boss by hitting them in the back of the head with a fire extinguisher, according to a translated report from Japanese news site LiveDoor. The suspect told the Metropolitan Police Department, quote, "I was being harassed and I hit him with the intention of killing him," end quote. The boss survived the assault. Sorry, the way I'm reading it's just too fucking intense right now. The boss survived the assault and will remain in the hospital for at least 1 week to nurse his injury. So, that 1 million sales of Cowabunga Collection is not going to repair those types of relationships. But Konami and murder. What a pair. What a pair.
It's real out there in the streets, man. I want to know what he told him to do. What happened? What
he talked about a power harassment. He said he was just getting harassed constantly. This guy who hit him with the fire extinguisher. Apparently he did it in the office while other people were there too.
Oh, this is on site?
Yeah, this is on site. Yeah. No. Hit him in the back of the head and he was pinned down by all the other workers there. I was like,
you gotta leave your man alone, man. He definitely going through something right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I ain't never heard no joke like that in a studio. That's
fucking wild.
That's wild.
That's what's going on with Konami. We'll keep you posted on the crime if anything develops out of that. Let's talk about Dragon Age Dreadwolf. According to a Tumblr blog by Fellasan, who I'll explain in a moment, EA has contacted the Dragon Age Wiki to host the Dreadwolf trailer on the main page. Here's what they wrote on their blog. Quote, EA contacted fandom about a partnership and would like the Wiki to host the Dreadwolf trailer on the main page, as well as for fandom to help redesign the Wiki based on the new release closer to the release date. The redesign typically just means creating new Wiki themes with background images that support the new release. I couldn't say exactly what changes they'd move forward with, but it wouldn't affect the Wiki content. It wouldn't be permanent. They'd be professionally designed by fandom's designers, and I expect you'd like them. The John Wiki currently has fandom design wiki themes, and as an example, were the Time Box part... That's weird. They completely skipped the sentence here. As an example, were the Time Box partnership to move forward with EA and BioWare, we'd be more than happy to work with you all closely on the specifics of any wiki design refresh and identity of the wiki to be respected. EA has expressed legal concerns around the official wiki designations in the past, so that may not be an option, but I'm sure we could work with them to provide TBD benefits to the admins and possibly for other editors as well, end quote. So that's a really long way of saying that they may be gearing up for some type of release date, possibly getting announced, and that they're trying to get the official assets to different pages, and that the official host of the Dragon Age Wiki fandom would be a part of that. So they would need those types of assets on those websites. So again, maybe June we hear about this, but it depends when EA wants to deliver this, because the rumor was originally this year. Now, based off what we're seeing online and Dara coming in, progress reports on the game coming in from journalists, that this probably needs to go into 2024. No one has said how far into 2024, but we should maybe get at least another look in a window this year. Like maybe it'll be a trailer that ends saying 2024. Time will tell, Cog. But any thoughts on them possibly gearing up for a new trailer for Dreadwolf?
The ramp up is here, baby. The ramp up is coming. You know, they're going full speed ahead. So the Dreadwolf, man, that storyline is so important to me. So I'm excited to see how they do the marketing material, how they do the trailers, and now they're updating, you know, making sure everything's consistent from a wiki standpoint and working with those guys. So yeah, I'm ready, man. It just signifies, all right, it is gonna come. It's coming. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because we waited so long with this situation.
Yeah. I know, right? Since 2015, really. 2015, if you don't include the expansions and everything. Yeah, wild to think about.
That long.
This is a quick one. QuakeCon's BYOC, Bring Your Own Computer event, will return in person in August. This is not the panels and whatnot. I believe those are still going to be reserved for online. I was originally misunderstood when I reported on my channel, so I issued a correction. But the BYOC event will be back in Texas in August. So if you're interested in that, you can go bring your computer and play with a bunch of other dorks.
Bessie, shout out to my Texas, man. We got to show Texas some love. Give some real events with panels. Come on now.
Yes, absolutely. PC Game Pass, the push continues. Xbox has been very transparent with that, perhaps in some positive ways, and maybe this week also with Redfall, maybe in a negative way, saying, hey, it's not just the box. Like, we got this whole rig over here. Why don't you play on that? But PC Game Pass is coming to 40 different countries this week. So the expansion continues. Phil Spencer actually made a video for PC Game Pass welcoming the new fans. There was a shelf update for Phil. I noticed a little Alan Wake statue in the background. So
what was on the shelf? Was it a little Alan Wake?
Yeah, I saw a little Alan Wake there. And I thought, oh, that's new, Phil. What's going on there? So he knows, and I wonder if it means anything. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. PC Game Pass, 40 different countries. Cog, any thoughts?
Yes, this is actually very substantial. The reason being, first of all, shout out to Lords of Gaming.net. We are international because I have one of my editors, editor-in-chief, shout out to Mahmoud. He's from Bahrain. And he's like, Cog, we got it, finally. You know, nice. I have also a writer from Croatia. Finally. These are things they would write. You know, whenever they would do articles, they would, or like just comments on Xbox News, they would actually tag Game Pass. They would tag Phil Spencer and be like, look, you know, we don't have it in our region. Like, people are interested, and to see this is important because remember, the last time we saw the financials from Xbox, Game Pass from a console's perspective had kind of peaked out and stunted. But there was this tremendous growth, I believe over 100% growth, and PC Game Pass. And that's where they're seeing this. So for them to expand in these regions that they are not, and they already had this growth, they are going for it. And I think this is a huge growth sector for them. And I expect this to continue. Now, the question is going to be, is this at the cost of other things? And we're going to get into that later. But I just want to give credit here because this is how you truly plug deficiencies, and you're really capitalizing on this new growth you got, right? PC Game Pass, and now that PC is becoming an option for so many.
It's so funny. Things. It was often referred to in the early days of our show as the forgotten one. Now look at it. Aren't you happy? Now we're suffering with our controllers. It's fucking great.
I want to be clear. This is huge. This is huge. So shout out to the team. Shout out to the expansion. Shout out to those guys on the cloud and Azure 40 new countries is impressive. And hopefully they keep the momentum going on PC Game Pass growth.
Absolutely. Thank you for the insight. That was awesome. I didn't even consider that. But now we move on to, well, I'm just going to swing away on this one, man. I'm going to swing away. See, y'all open yourself up too much. You talk your game so well, and I just take the hits. And then here comes Resident Evil 4 Remake, your survival horror game of the year, right? Or microtransactions have been added to, and get this, after launch, after the review period. You know who also does that? Activision. Ooh. They do that a lot. They turn on the microtransactions after reviews. Anyway, they were added in alongside a freely added Mercenaries mode, which a lot of people have been enjoying. For just $2.50, the microtransactions allow users to pay real money to unlock a weapons exclusive upgrade at any time. Hey, Cog, I got a question for you, brother.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what survival horror remake came out this year doesn't have microtransactions?
Which one is that, Matty?
That's Dead Space. And you know who published that game?
Wow, I think it's Electronic Arts.
It is. Isn't that fucking crazy how things go?
Wild.
Yeah. That's insane. If you reverse those, I would have believed you. But
yes,
this is how it's played out. Resident Evil 4 Remake has microtransactions. In all seriousness, I don't think a big deal. You can get upgrade tickets really easy, whether through the Spinals or you can upgrade with money, New Game Plus. This is Capcom's version of the Ubisoft time saver. And this is also a good way to fast track your platinum trophy if you're interested. So great for all involved, but I will not be partaking.
That adds, like that post-launch microtransaction drop.
I think it's a little sneaky. I get it's a 10 out of 10 game to many. I think it's a little sneaky though, and we should hold them somewhat accountable, even though they delivered. I mean, come on, this is pretty disingenuous. Not the microtransactions existing, but hiding them from reviewers.
Right.
Even because if they're not bad microtransactions, just it's an icky feeling, man.
No, I'm with you. Because they know what the smoke would have been if this would have been included in the review.
I don't think it would have derailed it at all. It just would have been, hey, these exist. Beware. That's it. Or for some a bonus. Some people love this type of shit.
Yeah, I'm just curious, if companies will adopt this strategy, right? Which is, okay, we know we're going to put in microtransactions. Don't do it after the review period. This is going to be interesting. This is
making us look like fools.
I'm glad you brought this. This is great that you brought this up, because this could be the new tactic to avoid the smoke.
Yeah. Watch out. What you should also watch out for is when Tekken 8 comes out, Lord Cognito may be in your lobby no matter where you play, because Tekken 8 is confirmed to have crossplay and rollback netcode. It's looking good, bro. It's looking good. Everything's going right.
This is fantastic. Tekken, the life of the online community, is where this game is going to have the legs. And crossplay, long overdue. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Because
right at the start, too. Love that.
Exactly. And Tekken, the netcode has always been an issue. Now, they've made strides towards the very end of Tekken 7 updates with netcode patches and things of that nature, knowing how much ping you could choose, all that. But the netcode has notoriously been an issue. Yeah. So to see them address this, man, Tekken 8 shaping up, man. I just need my harangue character reveal. Harada, a lot of Kazama, a lot of June. I get it. Where's my man? He better not be DLC. Harada, where he at? You know what I'm saying? That's my main. But I'm holding out hope. I'm the
weirdo hoping for Claudio to come back. I used him all the time in Tekken 7, all the time. I love him. So I'm hoping he comes back, but I'm not holding my breath. He doesn't seem like highly requested.
It's funny you said that, because one of my homies, he's a Claudio main. He's like, yo, did you hear anything about Claudio yet? I'm like, I didn't realize Claudio had all this love. A lot of people. So I
have Laylee drew me for my birthday one year. I have a painting hung up in the hallway, and it's of all my favorite characters, and it's awesome. And one of them is Claudio, because she was just going around paying attention to what I was playing that year and all this stuff. And so you see Claudio with the mark and his hang up and stuff.
He could be though, because storyline wise, he's kind of get an exorcist to outspell people, spell the demons out. So I think he could be linked to the whole Devil Jin. Clearly, June being back, they're trying to get rid of the Devil G, control it out of Kazuya or Jin. So his exorcist thing could be part of a main storyline. My only thing is, I just want them to get back to having storylines for all the characters, not just a set 5 and 6 like they did in Tekken 7. Because I firmly believe, I love you, Akuma, but I believe that Harada blew the budget to get Capcom to put him in the game and to make it canon. So now that there's still a possibility that Akuma is back. I don't know. I'm very curious how they handle it.
Looks like they're spending money again. Just those graphics, man.
Yeah. And, oh my God, I'm really 5. Whew, it's looking beautiful. But anyway, I'm excited about this. Game. Great news. Great news.
Now, on the other end of the graphical spectrum, in a really unique way, we have Warhammer 40K Boltgun. Do not sleep on this one. It's coming out on Xbox May 23rd, other platforms as well. And this is that kind of old school Doom style game in the terms of graphics, like it's pixel art for the guns and whatnot. And the animations are very like handful of frames, but it's got the speed and swiftness of Doom. I mean, it just looks awesome. I encourage people to check out one trailer of this game and tell me you're not on board. I think it looks like a lot of fun, and I am really hoping to try this one out at launch, provided I'm not busy with any reviews, which by May 23rd, I should be done with all of them until June. So we should be just fine. But this game looks fantastic, and I just wanted to give everyone the release date and encourage you to check it out.
Classic Doom, frenetic, fast-paced energy.
Yeah,
I see the vibes. Yeah, it looks cool.
Next up, we got Star Wars news. A little bit out of the gaming pocket, but you'll understand why it's on the show in one sentence. Star Wars will finally begin exploring the Old Republic. Lucasfilm studio head Kathleen Kennedy took to the stage during the Star Wars celebration and shared her vision for what eras Star Wars will explore on the big screen. She stated that they are, quote, broadening the timeline, end quote, and it displayed 7 major eras of Star Wars, including the Old Republic, which has remained long neglected outside of the gaming space and, of course, the movie space. Switch Mitch Skates writes in, greetings, Dark Lord Matty and Jedi Master Cognito. Star Wars Celebration was over the previous weekend, and I, for one, am particularly optimistic about the future of the franchise between the current run of The Mandalorian, the Ahsoka, and the imminent run or release of Jedi Survivor. How are the Dukes feeling? Thanks, and have a, by hell or high water, we will have our ponchos kind of day. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight this because I was very excited to see this. Now, I'm not out of my mind excited because the Star Wars movies, to me, even as a big junkie for the franchise, have left a little bit or a lot of bit in some regards to be desired. The quality has been up and down. So I do have that fear in my heart of, well, I hope they don't ruin it. But to know that people will finally get to see the Old Republic beyond comics in a video game and an MMO is extremely, extremely exciting. And I think a lot of people are going to love it. I think a lot of people will love the more political nature of the storylines that are told there. I think the more old school armor, it's like instead of, you'll have your Jedi robes, but you'll have characters that are wearing full on metallic armor and holding a vibroblade or something. It's very medieval, yet very Star Wars. And I love it for that. So I think a lot of people will be drawn to this, and I'm just happy they're finally exploring it. They have this new movie announced, Dawn of the Jedi.
Yes, I did.
And so the Acolyte's going to explore the High Republic. Like, they're going all in on all these things they've been writing about for the last couple of years. And it feels like after, I don't want to speak too soon, but the conclusion of the Skywalker saga, it feels like now they've been retooling, right? Because the High Republic has been really good from the books I've read and the comics I've read. Like, it's actually been good stuff. For those who don't know, it's about the golden era of the Republic before the fall of the Republic. So it's this period of time where they're in this utopia, but there's this darkness kind of on the outer rim. There's waiting, right? Like, you can feel the anticipation that something bad's going to happen. And there are people coming in trying to disrupt the peace. So I'm very keen on what they've been doing as of late. And to see them bringing that to the big screen, like, I'm pretty excited. And Ahsoka looked awesome. Like, I got to watch Rebels. I haven't seen that yet. But the music in that trailer for Ahsoka was chef's kiss. I was all about it. So, of course, the Star Wars guy is big on what's happening with Star Wars. I know. But, Cog, for you, I'm curious, is there anything that caught your attention throughout Star Wars Celebration where a number of trailers and panels and everything were dropping?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a couple of things that were sent my way. Shout out to Attic. I'm such a casual Star Wars guy. So it's like, I feel I have the best perspective because, like, I'm not so tied to things that, like, I feel disgusted because a lot of shout out to Travis, there's a lot of people who I know who are like, hey, they do not like the direction of certain things like that. You know, for me, I just like the expansion on it. I like to learn, you know, all about the different eras and the Republic and stuff like that. So to me, it's just more Star Wars is cool. For me, at this point, though, I got to be honest, Mando is probably the most I've ever connected with Star Wars.
That shit's
you know
so
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just to me because that feels like a quest game in a movie form. You know what I'm saying? Like it just feels gamey, and I like that. So yeah, I'm down for it. I'm down for all that, and I'm gonna be listen for all this casual talk. I do tend to make every major Star Wars movie and every major release. Yeah, because it's an event, right? And it's like I feel like I need to be a part of the discussion. And you know, for the most part, there's only like a few hours discussed it. But to your point, I did not like the way they ended the Skywalker trilogy thing. It just felt a little.
That's I realized I spoke a little too soon when I said you got to go because I didn't go to the theaters for episode 9. I was after The Last Jedi. I was really hot on it when I first watched it, and I watched it again. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, no, this is a mess. And then I just did more and more analysis of it to the point where I was like, no, there's no saving this.
I didn't like it. And I felt for those, because I'm old enough to remember, my mom took me, I think it was like Empire State Strikes Back in the movie theater with Star Wars.
So
like
awesome.
It was, bro. Like I was like a little. But I remember
little man.
I was a little man, and I was just like, "What is this? And why?" That's how I realized Star Wars was such a cultural movement. My mom don't go to anything, so I was just like, "Yo!" Like it really sat on me. So I remember the characters. I remember that New Hope energy. So to see those beloved characters now treated in this way, it just didn't feel right to me. So, but again, that's just me casual cog observing. But I'm very curious to see where they go with all this.
That felt like me as a kid, bro. When Revenge of the Sith was coming out, it was a movement. Like that's my favorite Star Wars movie, which I know is probably was a hot take back then. But nowadays, people are, oh, it's so good. Flannel moment, flannel alert, flannel alert. Take that jersey off right now. You ain't on my team, because I've been saying that since I was a kid. But I will say that Revenge of the Sith, man, you gotta love the last hour of that. It's some of the best Star Wars you could find, man. Both in memes and action and storytelling. It's just the two movies maybe meander a bit leading into it, but it's all worth it once you get there. It reminds me, I think, because of that trilogy. The prequel trilogy is why I love Trails, because in Trails, that's what the name of the game is. You go, you're like, it's kind of slow, and then things just heat up. And it's nuts from that point onwards. But it's like, man, if I didn't play all those games beforehand, I wouldn't care about this peak fiction right now. So it's the same thing with prequel Star Wars, I think.
To help my memory, because I did see it, but sometimes I get the names confused. What was the peak moment in Sith?
That was definitely Anakin turning over to the dark side.
Killing
Mace Windu. Go ahead, kills kids.
This is I had the high ground movie.
Okay, that one.
Okay.
The movie before we don't talk about episode 2.
We don't.
No,
we of course we like that.
And that's it. That's it. That's all we care about. That's the only part of the movie that exists to me.
I feel you. We of course that movie is going to have relevant. We all wanted to see the turn, the transformation to how he became. Yeah, of course. I remember that one.
And Hayden Christensen, man, like that guy is Anakin still.
Salute.
Don't get me started. Let's keep going. This one's really exciting. Suikoden I and II HD has been rated in Taiwan, which likely indicates a release date is coming soon, probably within the next week or two. So bring it on. This one is coming to Xbox. Shout out to Konami. But I'm pumped for this because I tried Suikoden II on my Vita, and it was the PS1 classic version. And I just don't think I was ready for that type of game at the time, right? I think I was still in college and I was developing my JRPG knowledge and skill set. So this one was about a 5-hour and bounce type of experiment. But I'm ready for Suikoden II now, and I'm ready to appreciate all it has to offer. So I personally can't wait, especially in that new art style. Konami, man, look out. Here they come.
Yeah, they on it, man. Suikoden is this is when COG was in his JRPG bag. And this is why PlayStation 1 is so near and dear to me. They were just wild, wacky, weird games. And I was just like, what is this? And I know 108 stars. I know this game don't have 108 characters. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. I was just like, yo. And I remember it vividly. And then the second one was amazing. You know what I mean? So this is one of those, for guys that love the Chrono Triggers and the stuff, like this is, one of those, you got to get into. This is really peak
it's
writing.
One of the GOATs, apparently.
Yeah, this is one of those, it should have been way bigger than what it is. So it's good to see people re-educated on this and come back the right way. And thus, Ayuden Chronicle, the creator, is inspired because this is his baby that originally
I feel like they're going to go head to head, man.
Yeah, listen.
Worst case scenario, of course.
Yeah, both know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm here for it.
And with that, let's conclude our little bit of news here on a somber note, shall we? Because Lord of the Rings Gollum has gone gold. And what we saw at PAX did not seem gold at all. It seemed bronze. Yeah, wasn't there? A little bronze energy for
that was back then. That was back then.
A couple weeks for sure. The tweet said, "We can't wait. The team can't wait to see you play the game." I was just like, yeah, probably for morbid reasons. They're like, this shit. Here we go. Have fun.
I'm rooting for the precious. I'm one of the few. I'm rooting.
The game's kind of fighting an uphill battle for me. I already hate Gollum. That's like already step one. Now you're making a Gollum game that probably sounded good on paper, and you got like 3 years in, you went, oh, fuck. This is not going to work, but we've just put so much money in, so we got to put something out. So I am admittedly going into this one biased, but it's definitely a morbid curiosity review for sure. Like I'm definitely going to fire and be like, all right, let's see what we got here. Maybe this turns out okay, but PAX East was not encouraging. So
not encouraging. Shout out to Lord Chris and Lords of Gaming.net and everyone that covered it. Look, we had some fun watching it, man. So we'll see. I hope
we had fun watching it.
Well, Lord Chris played it while we're filming, but yeah, we'll see. It's one of those things that definitely was polarizing and needed work at the time. But I'm pulling for the precious. I don't care.
It's coming out May 25th, 2023. So not much longer.
Yes.
See you then. For now, let's talk about what games we're playing today. Cog, we both have a diverse set of lists here. I'd love for you to go first because I definitely got a mouthful.
Yeah. Mine's actually pretty quick because the game I want to talk about I'll be discussing later. So in detail.
Think you and I are on the same page with that one?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one for sure.
Oh. Sorry.
There's another thing, because
sorry.
There's another game that I'm going to talk about very in depth later. So this is going to be shorter for me, but yeah, it's still Sifu, still MLB The Show, but Sifu right now, bro, the club stage.
Oh, so good.
My God. So good. Oh my God. Like it is so good.
Yeah.
That I have to replay it because I want perfection. I want to beat these dudes down to the club
dubstep kicks in when you step in there and everyone's surrounding you.
Bro, it is so martial arts, John Woo. It is so like this is a martial arts.
Man, speechless. This is a moment here, ladies and gentlemen.
Bro. Like, you don't understand when someone captures the essence of a genre that you love in such detail. This is why I fell in love with martial arts. This is why, for a brief moment, Cog was in the dojo in real life. There was a moment Cog was doing BJJ
really?
and Cog was
Once
doing
I'm
Muay
all
Thai.
100%, I'm going back, man. I want to do Muay Thai.
Bro,
real bad,
I wish I could. I'm too old. The joints, they ain't cooperating no more like they used to. You know what I'm saying? But martial arts is such a beautiful thing. And when you see these scenes, the classic club scenes and the fights and just the counters, you feel like a god in this game. And it's one of those games that the choreography is so good and the cinematography is so well done, the angles and the way they do it, the lighting and the variety of combat opponents and quick decisions and picking up it is just a beautiful thing. And a shout out to, I think Ebonsis was like, yo, did you get to because he was waiting for me to talk about this. And shout out to E on vacation if you're listening, brother, that boss with that pole and he ain't no joke. But again, I get disgusted because I want to be that guy. I want to be the star of the film. I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get touched. So I replay stuff, even if I beat it, because my thing is I want those. I can't get all the way perfect, but it's close to perfect where I feel I am a martial arts.
You want to be a young man by the end of the game.
Yeah, like so. When I'm because bro, they out here They beat me over the head sometimes. I'm like, oh, all right, that wasn't cool. That wasn't, you know what I'm saying? So I want that smooth film look like in the movies. Like I want to make sure, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Seafood, man. This game, man, I'm just taking my loving time with it. It's beautiful each day. So that's that. And of course, MLB The Show, you know the vibes. Matt's Scherzer doing a little better. A little better. He
didn't get rocked. That's good.
He didn't get rocked. Oh, God. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. But this offense, so I'm playing with my lineup a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. But
I'm trades.
They've been offering, which got watch to October mode, which is still my favorite. But I've been doing a little bit more of the quick counts and a little bit more of the actual RBI baseball arcadey kind of retro mode, just to, shit to get stuff like that. So that's it. I mean, the other thing we'll get into later, but what have you been playing, sir?
Quite a few games. Some by the request of our audience, some out of finishing them up, some for review. One game I'm playing right now is embargoed. Unfortunately, we're just missing the window. Embargo lifts a day after the show. So unfortunately, can't talk about one of them here. We'll talk about that next week. Okay. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Let's start off with that one because I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. Patches writes in, "Hello, Dookie boys. I'm here with a correction," he puts in quote, "for today's show. There's no easy way for me to say this, but Matty, what are you smoking? The movement in RE4 Remake is superb and is better in every way than the original. The speed perfectly matches the size of the environments. Yeah, sure, there's a bit of weight to Leon, but that's just how it was in the original as well. I know you are entitled to your own opinion, but I simply cannot understand. Have you opened your heart a bit more since last time? Regardless, I am mostly just busting your balls, but you're also wrong. Have a good day. Thank you, Patches. I appreciate the smoke. And I always encourage y'all, if you ever have a problem with what I say, or COG, that's what the write-ins are for too. If you take umbrage with something that comes out of my mouth, that is your thread to take me to task. Thank you, Patches, for doing so. Yeah, so I finished it. It took me about 11 hours and 44 minutes, I think was my final time. A rank. Standard difficulty, not bad.
Flex.
But like once I finished it, I felt kind of firm in my thoughts. I went, okay, it was good. Like it was a good game. And if I were reviewing it, I would have got my recommendation 100%. Do I still recommend it? Yeah, definitely. Like it's not a bad game, but I think that the lesson here was I have a preferred style. Style.
That's what I think.
It's not a bad game. I think that's where, reviewer chops come in. That's why you haven't heard me once go like, don't play this game. It's not good. It's just, I have a preference and I prefer the Dead Space style where dismemberment, which is an evolution of what Resident Evil 4 was doing. Like they looked at Resident Evil 4 when making Dead Space and said, what can we do that they're not? And that's where they went. That speaks to me, the kind of puzzle encounters of taking out parts of the enemy based off what body parts are exposed and what tool do I want to use with that. The interconnectivity of the world speaks to me more. There's a number of things. And I know this whole year, anytime I talk about Dead Space now, it's always going to have to be like, why do you like that more than Resident Evil? Like, I'll never just be able to celebrate Dead Space now. It's just got to be like, why do you like it more than Resident Evil? But that's what I learned. It's just a preference. The feel, I fired it up too. I was like, the feel of Isaac is a little bit smoother when you strafe. I don't know if I agree with Patches, it's perfectly matched for the size of the environments. Because again, there's a charm you get that increases your movement speed and it feels fine there. So I just feel the movement speed could have been better. Personally, I just felt Leon was slow this game. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Was he slow in the original? Yes, that's the point of the remake. That's my response to it. So I get where people are coming from. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just saying for me, when I play it, I didn't like the weight, and the only weight I like is when I'm attacking, which is what Dead Space provides. When I melee or when I stomp, and you hear the Isaac Clarke like, yeah, and that blood-curdling scream, that works for me. So again, no disrespect to RE4 Remake, good game. I can tell what I'm feeling about a game because I'm a little different from COG. How easy can I uninstall you? I was like, I'm not coming back. I'm done.
Yeah, you're done. You know. Yeah,
I just knew. I was like, I'm not coming back. Like, because I thought to myself, would I rather do this or another playthrough of Dead Space Remake to get the 100% achievements? And I'm like, Dead Space. Like, I'll do my impossible mode playthrough, finish that up. So that's where I'm at. Red Space. I said, Resident Evil 4 Remake was a good time. Definitely recommend it if you're having the survival horror itch. I do think that a little factor played in, though. I'll throw this out in fairness too. That I did do almost 3 playthroughs of Dead Space Remake. So there is the possibility I just got my satiation with the thing I love. And so stepping into RE4 Remake, like it was more survival horror, but to me, it felt worse in a lot of ways. So that's how I walked out of it. So I think it's also a sign of like we interpret experiences differently. Like I wonder how I'd feel about RE4 Remake if I didn't play survival horror for like a year or a handful of months and then came back. I don't think it would change too much because I went from Signalis to Dead Space Remake, and I love Signalis. It was one of my games of the year. So RE4 Remake, done. Good game, but probably not going back to it.
No doubt.
Let's go with the other audience request.
Let's go.
This one I know everyone's waiting for. I saw the write-ins, and I had to try it out. I had to see what the Dukes were talking about. I had to see what ILP was talking about. The S tier battle of the century. Was it worth it? Zip Davis writes in, hello, S tier Dukes. Matty, have you had any time to play Vampire Survivors yet? The people need to know your verdict. Will Lord Addict become vindicated, or will you and Sav team up and awaken the true Hulk of defining Duke as AKA messy/disgusted cog? Thanks, and I hope you have a delicious Easter Bunny chocolate kind of day. Thank you, Zip Davis.
Salute, Zip. All right.
So, Cog.
Let's get it. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, man, I don't got a good feeling about this one. Was kind of my energy, kind of like going into this episode, because I was thinking like, I don't want to beat up on Phil Spencer's Game of the Year too hard here.
Patty player politics.
Yeah, because I'm already going to give Xbox a ton of shit later in the show. I'm like, how hard do I want to go here? Like, I'm just going to come across as a bully.
Let's go.
I say this in all due respect.
Tell the truth.
I think it's just a preference thing. Mm-hmm. I would like to, this is my only disrespect. I would like to invite everyone to join me in 2023 where we press buttons when we play games, because Vampire Survivor, I'm only using my left analog stick and I go, this is what we're doing. We got to stop letting xCloud define what is the game of the year, man, because I'm just walking around and letting the game play for me. I'm like, I don't dodge. I don't like press the A button to like shoot out my attack. I just walk. It's dopamine rush the game for sure. Like, you run around, you're collecting these crystals, you're gradually. I like when the game really swarms you, because then I did feel myself. Like, I was like, ooh, like I was trying to avoid, get out of the way. And as you're picking up new upgrades, chests, I love the classic vibes. Like it's got a lot of good mini game feel to it, and it's a cheap game, right? So I'm not expecting a ton out of it. It's a Game Pass game. This though is an xCloud game through and through. Like I was posted up on my Series X, and I'm not. I think I played for 30 minutes.
Big screen for this?
I played 30 minutes. I was like, no, this definitely isn't the right place to be for this. This is not my home. So it's a dedicated xCloud game for sure. But what I did to balance myself out, because I did crack my jokes about Loop Hero, I fired that up. And I have better feelings initially about that. Now, in fairness, didn't go super deep into it because I was doing all this while I was waiting for some other stuff to install for reviews. So, I was just kind of biding my time. But I was like, this is my window, because Vampire Survivor is that pick up and play game. So what I tried was Loop Hero. And what I realized I liked about it more was the interactivity, like picking how the dungeon evolves. And it does play itself, so I'm curious how much it plays itself. But that will, again, be something I'll determine in the coming week or so, and if I got to give that to smoke. But Vampire Survivors, again, it's that RE4 Remake energy of, I'm going to give it, it's not bad. It's great for what it is, but there's no shot you'll catch me dead before you catch me putting this in S tier.
S tier, right?
No,
guaranteed.
No.
There's no way it could be anything less than S tier, according to some.
No. Definitely not. Like there are way better ways to spend your time here that are quick and easy and simple that would be an S tier. This would not be my pick personally. In fact, off the top of the dome right now, I don't know what would be, but I'm sure if I looked for 5 seconds, I would figure that out. But yeah, Vampire Survivors, cool. Love the music. Hey, the music is fire. My God. Great. I love the character unlocks.
Yes.
I love the unlock-driven nature of the game. Mm-hmm. I was really trying to give myself over to it, though. Like, see if I could get that one more run vibe. On my third one, I was kind of feeling it a little bit. And I love how I'm just popping achievements. Like, that type of stuff is cool. But that's why I say it's dopamine rush the game. It's all about unlocks. I get why people thought it would be my type of game, but I like the steady build-up and earning that instead of just, like, things popping, flashing, kill, die, da. Oh, look, chest. It's no. That's just not going to fly for me. So
I feel the people. Matty has spoken. That's all I needed to hear. Now, I
do you feel vindicated a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, because it's like I get it. It's fun and it's a classic retro vibe, and I think for me, a lot of Castlevania energy, which feels cool to see.
Definitely.
It's a throwback to an era, and I will give it credit for what it's doing. It is addicting. It's very addicting. I will give that. But to sit there and say, yo, this is the greatest thing that came out that year, like,
no,
it's not S tier. That's why tell people, I said, Phil, yeah, I love y'all, but like S tier, like A, like it's good. I'm with y'all. Like it's cool.
I would say
it's
B. From my experience,
you can even say B, right? So it's just like for some people it's going to be A, some people it's going to be B. I'm never going to say it's a bad game. I love what it's doing, but that part is where they were losing me. They were like upset if it's not an S, and I'm just like,
all I'm saying is I saw the Defining Duke LSM Discord doing some snooping on P3's Xbox achievements, and
what was that?
I saw 0 gamer score for Persona 5 Royal. So my man's just spending time in the wrong areas as far as I am concerned right now.
Nah, he loves Vampire.
P5R is that's available on cloud too, Phil. Come on.
He loves Vampire, bro. Again, it's a different, it's a throwback to an era. And I guess for an older gamer, yes, I could see why.
I played the arcade booths a ton as a kid. Like that was my jam. We'd go to the pizza parlor after baseball games and we'd play like Galaga and whatnot. Like that does speak to me, but just in a console game, it's like, no, we're past that. Like
I get it. I think this is one of those pleasant surprise at the moment kind of thing. And
I almost call it the will of the internet is what I call it. Like, oh, this is hilarious. This would be funny if this game was fucking S tier, wouldn't it? Oh yeah, it is S tier. Like that's what I think of when I play it. I'm like, y'all are playing a good joke. That's S tier.
It is what it is. Matty has spoken. Yo. I was very curious.
This guy, man. I really don't want to be. Like, I just want to come in, give myself an easy day at the office. Like, guys, you were right. This isn't like Yakuza. Like, this is great.
See, now
I'm kidding.
Forgive him.
Now let's talk about the real video game of the week.
Let's get it.
This is where I spent a lot of my time. It is finally time. Unfortunately, not for Xbox fans, but it's time for those of you on PlayStation and Switch to enjoy the greatness that is Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. It is out. My review is out over on Retro Rebound.
Yes.
The reviews for the game were extremely high. I was pleased to see that. I was a little bit worried that some folks would dog on Legacy Collection a little bit because, it's an older GBA style game. But I'm glad to know that people are remembering how fantastic this is. So for those who don't know, Battle Network is a Game Boy Advance series that started in 2001. And they had an annualized release every single year up until 2006 or 7, I believe. And this, or maybe even 5, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a while. But anyway, they were pumping these games out. And the idea is it takes the internet and personifies it. So Mega Man is this, instead of a side scroller, he's this program that can go into the network itself and you explore the internet and you fight viruses, you fight programs. And the way they just capture the smartphone era so early in the 2000s, I find it really thought-provoking. It's funny because it's an E for everyone game, an E10 plus in some cases, but I just really appreciate it. Like a lot of people talk about, I made a joke in my Retro Rebound review, but it's kind of true. A lot of people talk about Kojima and like seeing the future. Like this game predicted a lot of things that would happen in the smartphone era and how things would develop and people's attachment to devices and AI and how that moves forward. It's really impressive. And so I find it kind of a marvel in that way. But the gameplay is the standout here. You get chips, which pretty much are like building a deck. And it's like an action turn-based game where you're on one set of the grid, they're on the other side of the grid. It's viewed in the camera's almost in a 2D format.
Okay.
And so as you load in chips, that's like your turn. So you'll have like a cannon, a bomb, and a sword. And that's all you can use that turn. Once it's up, now it's time to like shoot your blaster. So it's still like a Mega Man game, but it's got this turn-based energy, but it's not so turn-based that it's stagnant. It's action. So it's just this beautiful hybrid that only one game has really done, and that's One Step from Eden. which I recommended on Defining Duke as a Game Pass pick of the week months and months ago. But that's the only game I've seen outside of one I'm backing on Kickstarter called Hero.exe, which has this Battle Network style gameplay system. It's very rare to be able to say this, but truly no game really does play like Battle Network. And I think it's because as Capcom evolved and innovated, by Battle Network 6, it's almost like developers are going to come in and go, what can we add to this? Like they've added everything to it. It's phenomenal. It's so much fun. I love the story and the characters. There's an innocence to the game. There's a purity to the game. And it's some of the best bang for your buck you'll get this year. It's $60, but you get 10 games. I didn't sell it like that in my review. I said, really, it's kind of like, to me, the idea of Pokemon saying you get 2 games when they sell you Pokemon Red and Blue. It's like the same game, guys. Come on. Kind of same energy here. In Battle Network 5, there are some differences in the story. Battle Network 6 and 3, I think there are more major differences in ships and forms and that type of stuff. So there are differences. The trophies and achievements do demand you to play both games, both versions. So there's just a ton of bang for your buck here. You can spend tons and tons and tons and tons of hours in these games. And I love that. Like, I love how much content is here. And also the quality of life enhancements they put in here. Bro, they threw in the Buster Max mode, so you'll just shoot your Buster Cog and you'll do 100 damage, just like that. So like farming, grinding, if you ever had to, just easy peasy, man. It's just a wonderful game from top to bottom. They really put a lot of love and care into it. They didn't clean up some of the mess, like the grammar. There's a lot of grammar issues in this game. It's actually funny when you start up the game, they're like, Capcom is a diverse group. Just keep in mind that some of the text in this game does not represent our views nowadays. And I went, early 2000s energy.
Early energy.
Yeah. I was like, all right.
Okay.
So I think based off the fact that the grammar wasn't cleaned up, if they had to put that message, they probably went, let's just warn them in case, which I guess go for it. But I don't remember anything being particularly offensive in that game, but we'll see. I'll have to run through them all again. But it is just a really good time. They put a lot of love and care into it. More than I ever expected. Like being able to get the chips that were originally exclusively available in Japan and having them in the English release is so cool. Fire up the main menu, you see a fully 3D model talking Mega Man.exe. Yo, Capcom, man. Like everyone's applauding RE4 Remake. I'm like, this is the joint right here. Like this is where I'm thriving with Capcom. I'm like, they could have absolutely just went, here's your package. Have fun. But I think they put way more effort into it than I expected. Because when you look at the Legacy Collection, X Legacy Collection, Zero Collection, they've gradually put more effort into them, which is cool. Like the Zero Collection had checkpoints added, which was huge. That game is so fucking hard, bro. So those little things are nice to have. But this one, just the amount, I could sit here for another 10 plus minutes just telling everyone
I love it. You're
new
bag.
quality life
it.
enhancements.
I love it.
Just they did a great job with this. As a fan, I was pleased. For newcomers, they'll be pleased. Some complications in navigation still. There's some old energy for sure in this game. You may need to walk through at times, I think. I have familiarity, so it's a little easier to navigate. But very special set of games. Happy they're here, modernized, preserved in a great format. Hats off to Capcom. Excellent job here. Really, really pleased with it and highly recommend it.
No doubt.
All right, with that, Cog, we got a couple of warm-up questions, and then we will get into the spicy news. Woohoo! Number 1 comes from Ikan Adil. Hello, Dukes. Did you see the atrocious IGN first gameplay of Redfall? How does this kind of thing happen? It almost looks as if IGN is actively trying to sabotage the game. Cog, this was all over my feed, and at first I was I wasn't thinking about participating in the conversation because I was like, they're just kind of beating up on them. Let's see. And I watched the gameplay and I went, okay, this is some Cuphead demo energy for sure. This is a little hard to watch. I want to start off with this, right? Let's be fair. The Dukes are always fair.
Yes,
Do you think people have been a little too hard on IGN with their gameplay, where someone was running around using a sniper rifle in a garage, lock picking when the teammates were down, running inside when the Rook was after them? Has the public, maybe leapt on a vulnerable prey, perhaps?
This is tough because there's two sides to this. The one side is if someone is covering a game, right? And they play the game, they put that coverage up, that's their representation of their experience. And that's the game performing the way the game's performing, right? Then there's the gamer aspect, which is proficiency on a base level for the game that you're playing, right? So case in point, like when we go to PAX, right? There's certain games where like we'll look up, we got all our lists. Okay, there's gonna be this, a couple of RTSs, a couple of first persons. I personally, right, and it's just COG, but from gaming.net, I go, hey guys, look, if anything is involving keyboard and mouse, I am not touching it because I know that's not my instinctual gameplay style, and I am not going to do the gameplay footage justice. That's what I've always said. So I'm like, hey, Petey, my man Petey, Lord Petey from Lords of Gaming.net. I'm like, yo, because he's PC Master Race. I'm like, bro, can you do the gameplay of this? I'll film whatever, because my job, in my opinion, is to make the game look as best as it can for people who are interested in said genre. That's my thing. The last thing I want to do is put a game in a bad position because I'm terrible or not knowledgeable in the subject. That's what I try to do. There's going to be situations where it's just you don't have that resource and you got to just do what you got to do, kind of thing. So it's tough. Now, in this case, let's get to it. Look, it didn't look well. And the reason why it didn't look well for me was the sniper in close range. I didn't feel that was indicative of, someone that was kind of proficient with first person games. Now, I will say this, and I don't know if anybody else has been saying this in reference to, this is the only thing I will defend IGN with. The Rook itself, there was a moment when it was outside the house and it was trying to like get in. Animation a little rough on to get in. You know what I'm saying? It was a little the transition on certain parts. You know what I'm saying? So I can't blame IGN for that. If there's some type of, the way it looked, it didn't look smooth, it didn't transition right. That's not their fault. That's the game, right? But what I can get on them is that, hey, if someone is not proficient in first-person shooters, then maybe you shouldn't sign off on putting that coverage up because you're not doing the game and putting it in its best light. You're doing it a disservice in that case, right? So that's where I get at it. I mean, here's the other thing, though. Surprisingly, I wasn't as disgusted as everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I just saw it. I was just like, all right, I like the way the Rook went there, whatever. They playing a little weird, but I'm like, look fun to me. The rest of the stuff looked fun to me because I still like the threat of Rook. I remember when we went to the event, you get encountered the Rook. I never encountered it. So I like the idea of this, abominable, kind of tough, threatening thing in Redfall because I felt the rest of the AI was a little easy. That was my critique. The rest of the AI was a little too easy, but that's where I'm at with it. This is really a hot topic, though. This is really a hot topic. People are very upset with IGN. People are like, they did not feel that they put the game in its best light. And look, if the question is, if you're a Bethesda, if you're Arkane, what repercussions are there after this? Because when you do an IGN first, you're expecting, first of all, you're giving IGN, let's be very honest and transparent, an exclusive window before another exclusive window to the rest of the press. This is an extreme level of access, right?
Yep.
And if you're doing that, now you may have to rethink this level of access if you feel your games are not being showcased in the best way. This is an Arkane and Bethesda choice now moving forward, because there are other outlets that are huge Arkane fans that are, I'm not saying that the IGN is not, but you know what I mean, that would probably maybe do a better job and try to showcase the game in a better way. Like there still has to be a sign off like, yo, is that cool? Like kind of thing. So this isn't it. That's the part I'm concerned about. I want to know how that, because IGN first, look, they're one of the most, I got friends over there. There's no disrespect, but we have to be clear. They are getting an exclusive level of access that many are not privy to. And if you're a game publisher / developer, after something like this, does that change your thought process? I'm very curious about what you had to say. I did watch a little bit of your video.
Yeah, with this, as someone who's been to these events, much like you, it's become the norm to not record your own gameplay, but I do sympathize with the idea of we have to learn these games quickly on the fly. Usually the controller format is put right before us. So you just look down at a piece of paper or up at a piece of paper and it's right there. And you got to figure out these characters on the fly. It can be an adjustment period. And I think the problem here is no one is really asking for expertise and, if you will, S tier being the word of the last 20 minutes, gameplay. It's more like we're just trying to see a fair representation of the product. And I feel like it's irresponsible of IGN to not showcase that. And I don't know what it comes down to, because I was looking into the Cuphead situation a bit more, right? For those who don't know, back in, I think, 2018, fine gentlemen went out and played the Cuphead tutorial. And you can still find it. The original outlet has it uploaded, and they just put their man on blast. And they said, we told him to go out. I believe his name was Dean. We told Dean to go out and play Cuphead, and he said he wasn't good at 2D platformers. We didn't realize how bad he was. And that did get the gears turning a little bit on, did IGN deploy their forces? And someone went, fam, not really that great at FPS. I'm more of a turn-based RPG guy. And they said, can you shoot a gun? Yeah, I can't. They didn't know how bad it would be. Some people don't click with the genre. That's not defending IGN. That's just the matter of fact, right?
That's a fact,
Colin over on Tinker Symbols talks all the time about his game skills atrophying. Like, that is 100% a thing. But I think people need to realize we sync up with certain genres better than others quickly. I think that's how we pick our favorite game genres. I clicked with RPGs, so like I'm more inclined to like them a little bit more because I picked them up a little bit easier. Fighting games too. Like, so that's how it works, right? But here's the problem. When you are reviewing the gameplay, and if you watch it for yourself, you'll see there's a staggering amount of splices and transitions that move the gameplay from like 1 inch to the next. And I'm like, why the hell was there a transition? What it shows to me as someone who creates a lot of their content is when you're editing that much, there is a problem with this footage. And we are not privy to the details of the agreement between IGN first and Bethesda, where they're like, you got to show the Rook gameplay. We agreed on the Rook gameplay. I can't imagine Bethesda looked at this, Arkane looked at this and went like, yeah, you gotta do that. But that's just me assuming. But what it showed to me when I looked at the edits was they knew it was fucking terrible and tried to edit their best around it.
Okay.
In my experience, when I record a game and I either get bad footage, which sometimes has happened, I've been handed an external hard drive, you take it home, you try to connect to the computer, only the audio's there. Worst feeling after a full day of travel.
Oh, bro.
And sometimes when you're on the plane, you go to an event and then you come home, you load up, you're like, no.
Demoralizing,
no,
bro.
All that travel and I got to use fucking B-roll, bro. Like, it hurts because you want to be able to show people what you experienced.
Yes.
The point being, I have times where the gameplay isn't up to snuff. I have moments in my gameplay where I'm still figuring things out and I look like I'm absolute garbage at games. You don't publish it because you're not being fair to the audience. And I don't say this to get on IGN's case, but this is for anyone, man. Like, the reason they have their job is to deliver information about entertainment. When you're not doing that, you're failing your job. So when you are failing to showcase a game properly, you are doing your job poorly. And I find it frustrating because I think IGN first and the Game Informer cover story, like, these are products of an old school style press outlet approach of coverage that just, quite frankly, is phasing out. And it should be happening in the first place. And this is where you dig your own grave. Okay, we want that exclusive coverage from IGN, the biggest website. Now you don't have the option of someone going over to this other outlet who had the chance to play the game and saying, oh, it's just IGN's gameplay that sucks. Unfortunately, this is a lot of people's first look at Redfall. And as we'll get into with the news, when it rains, it pours. I think this gameplay hurts a bit more. Do I think it'll hurt the sales of Arkane and Redfall? No, the news we'll talk about later, I think, if anything, has a chance of hurting sales. But it's frustrating from a content creator perspective. And to me, nothing more, because I'm not saying give me the opportunity. No, like, you don't got to. It's more like it's irresponsible. It's wholeheartedly irresponsible, and they could have done a better job. And they knew, based off the editing, they had to do something about it. And the only thing I'll say is, if this comes down to protecting someone, like, we didn't want to tell him his gameplay was bad. Y'all, like, I am Cog knows this as well as anyone, man. If you know me personally, Matty fucking hates lying. Like, if there's one thing I hate to sound like Mr. JRPG MC here. Like, I love the truth, but just if you want the number one way to my shit list in a flash, lie to me. Watch what happens. But there is the art of the white lie. You know, Christmas time, I didn't get you that, babe. No. That gameplay, it corrupted. Oh, shit. We got to use another one, man. But don't worry about it. You don't got to break the dude or the chick's heart. You just got to not use it in a way, right? I don't know what it comes down to, but no one in their right mind would look at that and go, yeah, we did our job right. Like, we showcased the Rook gameplay. And I don't want to go on too long. I want to let you get some words in here. But yeah, man, like, to me, I just feel like it's a failure on executing proper coverage of a game you've been given a good privilege to cover above everyone else.
No, you're right. I mean, look, I do want to, there is one key detail though that I have to push back slightly, only because as a content creator, I've been there. And this is the thing I will say. Let's just say it's exactly what you said, Matty, right? And they put, you know, John Smith's first day on the job. You know, my man John Smith was out there.
John Smith, man.
Yeah, you know, and he's like, man, you know, I don't really do FPS, bro. But, you know, and they like, look, all other resources are used right now. John, we need you. We need you on this. This is a big opportunity. All right, guys. And John Smith go out there and do what John Smith just did. Right? So now we like, yo, because remember, no one cares about John Smith. It's IGN, right? So they go, yo, IGN, what the F, right?
Yeah.
So there's an internal decision that has to be made, which is one, as one of the biggest outlets, one of the most exclusive stories, do we pull this, right? You lose the opportunity, you lose the coverage, you lose all, you know what I'm saying, all that. And, you know, do you do John Smith dirty and say, okay, not dirty, but it says that, okay, you know what, John, that wasn't it. We're going to wait for, you know, Travis, Ryan, whoever, right? And then when they come in, we're going to blow the embargo window, but your coverage was that, and it wasn't a go, right? And I think that's what happens internally. And I will say this, and this is someone I can speak from experience. There are times where things are an absolute L. You cannot do anything about it because John Smith did what John Smith did, or Cog went out there and the audio was horrible and the gameplay, whatever, right? And I learned this from Attic. I got to give my boy. I was like, bro, I sat there and I was like, I'm not putting this up. This is not reflective of the quality that I want us to display. He said, Cog, I feel you, brother. Like, I know you're brokenhearted right now, but you got to put it up. I'm like, why? It's terrible. It's pixelated or this is that. He's like, you have to put it up as far as your commitment to said publisher. And, you know, when you said you was going to cover, and then just from a standpoint of even of how terrible it is, there is somebody that wants to see this game, right? And get this, there was a game called, I'll never forget it. It was called Death Garden. Bro, this was my first convention. I had a harebrained scheme to think I was going to live stream directly to YouTube footage on a convention floor with all the wireless internets going on in there. My joint was like 480i pixelated garbage. I was broken heart. I was like, oh my God, I had one of the most exclusive games of the year. This game was created from the makers of some other popular game. Bro, I was devastated. I'm deleting it. Addict to this day said, no. Do you know, I put that video up begrudgingly it was so embarrassing. Some other websites hit me up, was like, yo, I know the footage is not great, but could we use your coverage? Because we did get some tidbits from the developer. We did get something, despite how terrible it was, we did get some stuff for, can we use it? And I'm like, all right. That was the first viral video ILP ever had that did like 10K views.
Well, it did go viral. They did.
Well, they went viral, right? So look, at the end of the day, IGN they know they took the L. But let's be real, because of the gameplay being what it is, they have achieved their goal. So that's why I just want you to understand the other side to it, because I'm with you though. There's no way they don't know this.
Oh, yeah,
there's no way they have way more resources than I could ever have. So I think an internal decision was made. Yeah, yo, bro, it got to go up. John Smith was terrible, but
here come the cops for John Smith, right?
Yeah, the cops are coming for him right now. They definitely upset. So that's it. But it sucks for the game, because obviously you want the game to look the best it can look, and then otherwise the content police will come after.
Yeah, here they come, man. Watch out, John Smith. Yeah, so It's unfortunate. For what it's worth, I thought the gameplay of Cuphead's tutorial was far, far above and beyond worse compared to what Redfall was showing from IGN. But I think it just goes back to what a lot of fans ask for. It is like, if you're going to work in games, you don't have to, again, be professional. There are games I suck at for sure, but there's a level of competency that comes with it. And it's like, to me, I think there's a list of gross things you can say. And I think one of the gross things you can say in our line of work is like, get good, bro. Because I get it. It's like, it's so sweaty. It's so derogatory, but there is a level of, you gotta be able to play these games to show them off. Like that's the reality, man. And especially if it's to be shown to the public. Like I gotta give tough love on that. Because look, I'm not acting like when I'm putting up my Wolfenstein gameplay, like I was really mowing them down, doing it all right. I get it. We're learning the intricacies of these games on the fly in a tight window, and you got to show up. Like I get it. Like I've done it dozens of times,
of course.
I feel like we got to be able to deliver a little bit, just a little bit. You know,
no, I get it.
Not high skill, just skilled enough.
I get it. And especially when you are the outlet who you are the world leader, right? Because the other independent and small outlets were like, look, if we would have got the opportunity, we would have did. You see what I'm saying? Kind of better. So
which is the energy I'm not trying to give off. Like, I would have done better. Yeah. You know,
it's like, of course.
No, I don't think I would have done that, but I'm not saying I would have came in and smoked them. So
right. For sure. I totally understand where you're coming from. There is an accountability here. And I definitely don't want to not give any smoke just because. Like, no, of course. Absolutely.
So with that, we have one more question, and then we'll talk more about Redfall, this time in 30 FPS fashion. But first, we speak with your boy, Nikki V, who writes, hey, booty boy Barry and titty gobbler Matty. See, I told y'all, we got some foul write-ins, just sparingly used.
But you focusing on my gym pictures, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Out of control there.
I still don't know where you got titty gobbler from. I don't know. I don't know if I said something in one show.
Where that one came from?
I don't know. It's crazy, though.
Interesting.
He says, so I recently resubscribed to Game Pass and I can't find jack shit to play. I tried Wolong, he wrote Woo, which is the main reason I subbed, and gave up after the ridiculously difficult first boss. Sure, if I'd paid for it, I'd have tried harder, but the lack of monetary investment made it easy to walk away from. Same thing with Atomic Heart. The first couple of hours sucked. I've heard it gets better, but I can't find the motivation to stick around. Nikki, I'm just going to let you know now. I think you made the right choice. I don't think it gets better. I think it gets worse, but to each their own. He says, sure, there's a shit ton of my favorite games on here. Yakuza, Titanfall, Fallen Order, Fallout 3, Gears, and Evil Within, but I've played them already. I'm super picky and usually play anything I'm interested in at launch, so there's not really much for me here outside of the third-party day one releases, which have been pretty lacking in my opinion. Choice paralysis is definitely a factor too. I'll be back for Starfield, but I haven't had a great experience with Game Pass outside of Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 4 and 5. The only hidden gem I discovered was A Plague Tale, courtesy of a recommendation Carrick made in the early days of this podcast. Otherwise, it's a lot of booting something up, playing for 30 minutes, then deleting. Anyway, just thought I'd share my experience that Game Pass isn't for everybody. Can you relate, or am I hereby dismissed as crazy? Cheers, cuties. Thank you, Nikki, for writing in. Again, this episode's been a lot about balance, right? Bringing balance to the force here. We balanced out the Midnight Suns. Now Game Pass. We're usually pro Game Pass.
Yes.
I find it interesting when I read that someone can't find something to play in Game Pass. Not that it's unbelievable, but it's a good reminder that there is a way to go. And there's a lot of people who unsub and say, I'll see you when this game comes out. And that Xbox still has to find out that way to keep people hooked. Now, in fairness, I think this year has been high quality with Game Pass. Like I think their day one drops have been mostly pretty good. I think they've been on the money with not pouring it on too hot while still keeping us with a consistent amount of games coming into the service. Like, I feel like it's all been dosed out just right. But I'm curious for you, Cog, based off what Nikki wrote in. Have you heard of anyone with this similar experience? Because I have friends who are the same boat. Like, they don't show up unless it's day one launch, play it for a month, and then out they go. So what do you think of this? But is there a way that Xbox could ever hope to retain someone like Nikki? Because I feel like that's just impossible, right? There's just... I say as well, due respect to Nikki. There are people who just want to get over on the big man, right? Like for me, I just sign up. I'm like, yeah, there'll be a month I probably don't use this. It's not like I got a ton of money to blow, but it's fine. I run an Xbox show, take my cash. But I have friends who are like, no, you're not getting my money. No, you're Microsoft. That's fine. Like I'll sign up, give you $1 maybe if that deal was available when it was. Yeah. I'll get your big AAA game that's usually $70, and then I'll walk out as soon as my subscription's about to expire. So Do you know people like Nikki? Do you know people who are getting over on the big man?
Yeah, I do. Shout out to Nikki. I think this is, I don't think he was too disrespectful. I think that, he went in there, he tried, Wo Long, that was one of the reasons he said he got in, obviously, I don't think based on what he said that the game itself from a quality perspective was the issue, but the difficulty of that first boss, which is something, that is kind of known throughout the circles now as the game has been, released and circulating. So to Game Pass's credit, it did get him in, right? But he just had an issue with the boss. I don't know if that's the quality of the game issue, but just a balancing issue with how, Wo Long handled it. But to his point, I have heard this conversation before. This is not something new. I've heard people go, who are both sometimes, they have both consoles. They primarily play on PlayStation. And they say, look, Game Pass is cool, but it's like, hey, I've either played some of these games already, and I'm only here for the big day one releases, right? So if the day one releases aren't their cup of tea for whatever reason, this is going to be the norm. And I think the only question I have to push back at Nikki V is, didn't see Hi-Fi Rush on that list. Very curious about that. I was like, because I felt that was something worth trying out. And again, not saying that just because it's Hi-Fi Rush, that automatically means Nikki V into it. But that's something I feel, should be tried out as far as that. I think the issue here is this. For a specific subset of gamers, right, that like high fidelity, right, that like that PlayStation exclusive narrative focused energy, right, outside of like, remember, Plague Tale fit that bill. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see, you mentioned Plague Tale. That was a hit. See, it's that guy. I know that guy. And that's why I implore Xbox. You have the right strategy with variety. You're doing it right. Strategy games, art style, indie. You're doing all these things. Racing. You've got the plethora. You got the buffet, so to speak. But sometimes people want that filet mignon. Sometimes they want. I just want to get a good steak.
Fine dining, and breathing, as they say.
Exactly. And it doesn't negate the quality of the seafood, the shrimp, and all the other things you're doing. I'm never going to be disrespectful because those games are quality games. It's just that for this subset of gamer, right? And let's be honest, have you seen PlayStation sales lately? Have you seen the record-breaking February? Okay, that goes to show me that there are people who care about the Ragnarok style of game. Now, I get it. Call of Duty sells the most, whatever. But you can't tell me that those games don't help form an identity and bring you into the ecosystem. And I just want Xbox to still, while you have your diversity, make sure you feed a steak guy. There's steak guys out here, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's
steak
it.
Guys, so, I love that. Another one added to the list.
I got to give you some bars today. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that's all they care about. And as far as they're concerned, all that other, finger food and seafood and all that's cute. But I just need my steak every now and then. And I think Hellblade's a steak. You know what I'm saying? I think Starfield's a steak. You know what I mean?
Lies of P a steak?
I think so.
Yeah, I
think the Dark Souls games are steaks.
Yeah.
I don't even consider, I don't like that type of steak. You know what I'm saying? That's normally not my thing. But I recognize, based on, shout out to my Elden Ring gang. I know, me and y'all have had beef, but I recognize y'all. I know how important you are. Because there's people like, I want a ribeye. Right? That's that ribeye. I want to get into it. I want to really challenge myself. That is a new thing in gaming that people, it's really growing. So shout out to Nikki V. That's what I am saying. That's why I'm so #JustOne. That's why I'm so graphical fidelity. I want to push Xbox because that fan, when they see that, they go, oh, yes, day one.
I feel like Xbox has to produce those, though. I feel like it's going to be hard to find publishers wanting to sell that type of experience in Game Pass. I think that's the problem that they got to get over if that's the type of game Nikki V is looking for. Because if Xbox can produce them and they can buy everything else, then that's like the best case scenario to me. And I think Starfield does fit that. I think Hellblade does fit that. Yeah. But then Avowed should fit that. Fables. So I feel like that's their plan when you look at it from that angle, is like, we'll produce the high quality steak level meal. And then the rest, the finger foods, like your HD 2D style games, your seafood with the hi-fi rush. Like we got you taken care of on that outside of our walls, maybe. So
I agree.
It depends.
And again,
it depends.
I don't want to be disrespectful to Halo, Gears, and Forza either. Those are steaks too. But the problem
that was
is
the burger fries shake.
I mean, sorry, you're correct. Those are the burger fries. Yeah. You are correct.
We do have the whole menu here.
Thank you for correcting me on my own analogy. But it's like, no, you're right. It's like, but people they got used to that. They're like, okay, that's what you do. We get it. Let's get these steaks though, because burger. You fed us that for years, kind of thing. That's all it is. You're absolutely right.
With that, let's move into the news, shall we? Big conversation to be had this week on Redfall. So let's start off with number one. Redflop, Deadfall, or just Redfall. Any of these names fit for Xbox fans following the gut punch delivered by Arkane on the game's official Twitter account, where they wrote, quote, Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Xbox Series X will be 4K 30 FPS. Xbox Series S will be 1440p 30 FPS. 60 FPS performance modes will be added via a game update at a later date. End quote. Oh boy. All right. So there's a lot of ways to tackle this. Let's start off. Who's the right? And I want to choose here. Let's start off with Cody Herb, who writes, Hi, Dukes. With the news Redfall isn't launching at 60 FPS, do you think Microsoft is rushing the game out, or it was the developer's choice? Have a devil-secured home ice in the playoffs over the Rangers kind of day. Cody, I'm not expecting us to get past the first round, so you can have at it, but fingers crossed from a man out there. I want them to go deep, but I'm just a little nervous about the D here. But anyway, Dog, I want to just kick us off here a little bit. Just a little bit.
Let's get it.
A little appetizer, if you will. This is Xbox One energy, bro. This is some Xbox One 900p energy to the maximum in my eyes. Like, I really was disappointed by this because this is the product that they have produced for themselves, right? Like, normally I think any other game would be, shucks, that's disappointing. But because Xbox has asked people to wait, they've delayed, they've miscalculated so many times, something like this is our headline story, where it would be disappointing and it would be addressed and it would be talked about. But I found this insane to see. You ask fans in 2022, leading into your big showcase, hold up, pin in the balloon moment, wait longer. We're going to deliver sometime in the first half of 2023. We don't even get any other window outside of that. And we don't get that window until starting January of that year with Developer Direct, and then months later with a Starfield trailer, and that got delayed again. So Xbox fans have been patient. I think that's been overstated, but it's true. They have been patient. And when you eliminate all those other platforms, right, you're now isolated on the Xbox Series consoles and the PC. The one thing I think we all expected from both games, by the way, being Starfield and Redfall, we don't know about Starfield, but that will be a question. But with Redfall, all of us expected, especially with the trailers, our preview event, which we'll also talk about being at 60 FPS, is that this game could launch at that. We have Harvey Smith on record with IGN France saying, yeah, when we lost the PS5 SKU, it was kind of nice. We got to focus in more. Todd Howard has said that multiple times. To see this truly feels like, to me, a slap in the face to the patient Xbox fans. And this episode, you may have noticed as we've gone through the news, specifically with Game Pass launching in 40 countries, which is excellent, that PC is the push. They talked about in a prior interview, this is why listening to the Dukes every week is so key, right? Remember, we talked about Phil saying we plateaued on console. We're looking to grow on PC. To me, this feels like almost you served your purpose. We are done growing here. You're going to whine and complain. We're worried about what's out there on all the other screens. And I get that. But I feel like they are truly making a big error here. Not only for optics, I think it's a huge optical error to launch a game people have been waiting this long for when you're promising there will be 60 FPS just down the line. So we know it can run at 60 at some point. But it's a huge optical error when you're buying companies to have the Hi-Fi Rush being the asterisk, right? Because it was really the first Bethesda first-party game to come out of the Xbox ecosystem. But Redfall being the one with the traditional marketing window, to have that launch with that 30 FPS Xbox One energy. We spend a lot of time here on Duke defending Xbox, right? Because sometimes I think they're subjected to the unfair narrative because they're always the second-class citizen. They're always getting beat up on. Yeah, I'm not trying to defend the big corp too hard here, but it's these moments where it's like you are just complacent with being the second place silver medal guy. Like you're just okay with that. If you're okay with that, then make your bed and lie in it. But don't be out here talking most powerful console. We're dedicated to game. Don't be talking all this game, man, if you are happy with second place, okay? Because you're not measuring up right now. This is one of those situations where you absolutely look across the fence at what PlayStation's doing and go, okay, Ragnarok, that's running at 60. But Redfall, which I say with all due respect, doesn't look too graphically intensive to me. More particle effect intensive, which can tank your frame rate. And that was my assumption of what was happening. Also, based off my preview, seemed like there were some data streaming issues because parts of the world took a while to load in and would stutter the game heavily. But again, I'll stop there and just say that this has given me some Xbox One energy, COG. And while it's not the end of the world, and I don't want to pretend it is, I think it's an optical black eye, and I think it's a really bad look for a company on a shopping spree because the message they were trying to send us is the best games are made when Xbox is involved. No. I'm not seeing that if you're going to launch a game like this. If you're okay with that being the case, you know this. And what's sad, man, sorry, I'm going on a little bit.
Love it.
What's sad, man, is what I feel bad for Arkane because here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Redfall will have to walk so that Starfield can run. And I feel like truly this is a bit of a litmus test to say, how much do they care? And kind of letting them hang out and take the big blow
30 FPS
for
test.
Starfield delay. Because look, man, Todd Howard on record, care more about fidelity and all that stuff. It's all coming back, ladies and gentlemen. That's why this is so significant. We've been reading the tea leaves here on DD for months. A lot of people are like, yo, y'all are negative, apprehensive. No, this is what happens. So, Cog, I want to hand you the mic now and let you tee off in whichever way you want. Man. Of course, Cody's question is, do you think it's Microsoft rushing out or was it the developer's choice? And I think it's really hard to tell right now, but I'm curious for you, what's your take on the whole situation, his question? And of course, we have many more to sift through.
Yeah, insane work day. Listen, this was so crazy because, you know, the news just came to me, right? And, you know, I hit you up and I'm like, you're like, yo, it's going to be a fun show today. I'm like, what is he talking about?
I didn't give you the link because I was like, I saw you were offline all day. I was like, I don't think he knows.
I did not know. So I'm literally buried up to my eyebrows in work. And I'm like, all right, let me pop out for a second. I got a second to breathe. What's going on? Because I want to prep for Duke and obviously talk to you. And I saw the tweet. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, so 30 frames, you know, 4K 30 Series X, 1440 30 Series S. But then the line that really bothered me. 60 frames per second will be added via update at a later date. So that indicates to me that it is possible, but you need more time. And then I started to think, okay, how can this happen? Because one, like you said, again, I'm no developer, you know, we do, I interviewed Harvey Smith and speaking with him, you know, I understand there was a lot of technical challenges to make this thing an open world. So I'm never going to sit there and say, well, just because, you know, Ragnarok or whatever, they are two different type of game. I get it. But again, the assumption looking at the outside in that it wasn't as graphically demanding based on the art style chosen for this game. So I guess that's where my surprise was. I was like, okay, being that they're not going for the hyper realistic, that maybe would free them up for, you know, the frame rates and stuff they you know, they are. Now, in full disclosure, right, what we played was on PC, right? Yes. And from what I played, that looked 60 FPS to me. Right, from what I played at the event. So this was a surprise. I think the major blow, we just got to talk about the elephant in the room, bro. We have to talk about this Series X/S platform right now. And, you know, we have seen the consistency, which I will talk about later, issues when it comes to cross-platform games now creeping up. where
I got to roll back what I said a couple weeks ago, man. I really do. I was wrong.
We have to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be real. We got to talk about how, we're seeing cross-platform games where if we're going to put a percentage on it, let's just say, 60 to 40%, like say 60% of the time there's parity, but maybe there's a 40% of the time when the PlayStation version runs better than the Xbox Series version, right? We have to talk about that. We've always had to talk about ad nauseum, the position of the Series S, right? And how difficult it may be or not be, right? There's been conflicted. You heard one or two developers, say something and then whatever. Or we've heard, the dev kits or whatever, right? At the end of the day, the reason why this is disappointing is because, like you said earlier, Matty, when it was quote unquote pulled from PlayStation, the information came out that it would not be a PlayStation version of this after the acquisition. One was under the impression now that you have the focus for one singular platform, you can dedicate your resource. And again, like you eloquently said, when your marketing for the series consoles has been, this is a beast. This is the most powerful console, right? And you can't reach the 60 frames per second target on an exclusive, right? You are not going to get any favors done. No one's giving you the benefit of the doubt. And that's just how this goes. So to me, the last point that this says to me is that internally, Redfall's coming out.
Yeah.
And at the behest of frames or what have you, it's coming out, May. It's coming out. Now, here's the thing. I want to be fair, because this is the tough thing. Xbox fans have been told to wait. Right?
I get where you're going with this, I think.
People are tired of waiting, right? See, this is the thing. So what do you want, Xbox community? And this is why I got to come back at the community. I have to. Because on one hand, you say, this is unacceptable. You are lambasting them fairly because this is unacceptable. You know it could be 60 and it's unacceptable. But will you have that same energy if the post said Redfall is delayed until thing? What would the headlines be, Matty? The headlines 100%. Would say, this is unexcusable, Xbox. You're telling us to wait. You can't have it both ways, community. You can't. So that's why I always are on team delay. I don't care. Give me the best version whenever it come. I'm not, because I know how this go. And that's why I have to defend. Because Xbox can say, yo, but y'all said we better hit back. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing. And it's a tough business, man. It really is. It really is. It is. And this is a blow. This is a blow. I'm not going to minimize it. I'm not going to sit there and say the community is wrong for giving them the smoke. You know what I mean? The final thing I will say is, whose call was this? Because internally, Arkane must know, damn, we need more time to get this 60, right?
Yeah.
Is this a case where Microsoft says, look, you don't come out in May. Remember, people talk, crack the whip, Microsoft. You better come. You can't come out in June. We got Diablo. You can't, you can't come out in September. How much? Maybe we need that to the end of the year and then we could figure it out. Oh no, we got Starfield, we got Forza. You better come out. Yeah. And let's just say, remember, this is fresh off Starfield with 2 delays, right? So what if this is Microsoft saying, bro, we ain't trying to hear that. You better get out there. You see? So I can't get mad. You can't have it both ways, Xbox community. Which one is it? And that's why I challenge you to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Because COG has always been team delay. I don't even want to see you. I don't care about it. I care about the finished product. Mm-hmm. So that's just where we are. This is a major blow. Man, I will say this last point. Twitter is on fire today.
Yeah.
I'm very curious when this game launches, and if it's good, how does that play out with the energy and the engagement and stuff like that? I'm very curious. Is the 30 frame? We're gonna learn what you said best. We're gonna learn how truly people care about the 30 frames with this release on an extent.
Yeah.
Because this could be potentially, we got to call it how we see it, a precursor to the Starfield situation.
Oh, absolutely.
And we gotta talk about it, right?
Absolutely.
So man, what a day. At least it broke on Wednesday. Woo.
I know, right? How kind of them.
Thank you for breaking this because we get this one, bro. Man, so much to talk about. Yeah, this was
you're on the money though. You're on the money that, we've been team delay. This one was the surprise. I think we all had our targets on Starfield's back. Like, we're waiting for you to say something about the 30 FPS over there. For it to come here first, again, was just such a shocker, I think, for everyone involved. It was like, no, you were the safe pick. You were the safe one. And especially when it was marketed as such, that's a problem too. Like, what we played at the event was 60. What's been shown in the trailer was 60. Everything has been 60. You cannot just roll that out. And the problem is, man,
talk to me. Man.
They made it so fucking easy for everyone around them now. It's so easy in such a competitive year to look at Dead Island 2, Jedi Survivor, Tears of the Kingdom, and go, my time spent there now. And I don't give a shit if Game Pass exists, because time is a currency that's equally as valuable as money to many people who have the means to play games, because it's a luxury. So when they got that choice of 60, 70 bucks on whatever game, they got so many good options. I just talked about one today in Battle Network. They could be busy with that. I know it's going to be a small demographic. They might be busy with that at one point. It's going to hurt the game in that regard, I think. In the terms of immediate engagement, I think that will see a steady decline. I don't think it'll be as dramatic. But here's the interesting part. You brought up a potential delay, and I'm on team delay as well, no matter what. But Gotham Knights is a great example. Gotham Knights launched in 30 FPS multi-plat, and it wasn't until Eurogamer has the published article here of a re-review of the game, which came out in October, by the way, that in March, it got its next-gen patch with the 60 FPS, and it runs for the better. So we're talking, 5 months at that point? And if we're talking November, guess what game we were talking about could land in November? We said our fear is Forza, and our hope is Hellblade 2. And I just feel like this is a roadmap moment. Like, they've waited, and they look at what can come out, what may come out, what they're planning to at least launch in the holiday, because they know.
Yes.
And this is like, it's your window now, or what, you're going to wait a year? I think when you look at this is the problem, what I said with the shotgun blast for years now. I've said, I don't want the shotgun blast. You need to steadily put these out if you can, because it's going to become a problem when you got so many loaded in the can. You're going to have to let them all blow at once. And if this is what is happening, it is just speculation right now based off what we saw with Gotham Knights and just how truly long it can take. And granted, it may take longer in their case because it was a multi-plat update versus what we would hope would be a shorter time window, with Redfall being two consoles, sorry. But this could be the product of that. And it was one of my fears for a long time with Xbox, if that ends up being true. So I just wanted to call that out. But let's shift a little bit of our attention to this event we went to, because a lot of people had questions on that. Brandon Conley had one. He writes, hey, Dukes. So about that Redfall tweet. Yeah, that one. At the Redfall event, was there any back and forth Q&A, any inkling of a sign where you had thought for a moment, nah, they aren't being totally transparent here? They had to know at that point the game wasn't going to be at 60 FPS, and they could have gotten out in front of it. That's a big L, more so because of the lack of transparency than the actual reality of it being locked at 30 FPS. When is Microsoft going to get it together with their messaging to consumers, with all due respect? Thank you for writing in, Brandon. I'll just jump off and say real quick that the only minor red flag, which has sadly become the norm at these preview events, is we could not do direct gameplay capture. And I try to respect that and not react to it, because I get it. It's like, it's kind of not what we want to show right now. But, the fact that we're playing it, as long as we're honestly interpreting our experience, that's what matters. And then they can give us whatever. I do like the ability of matching the gameplay with, what I'm talking about. That's super important as a video content creator. That was the only one. The other thing I called out and I held back because I said, I don't want to jump, but now that's why I'm jumping here, is I said, yeah, when I left the fire station while playing Redfall, the FPS would tank through the floor as I entered that open world for a little bit, and then it would come back together. And when things got very busy, there would be a chug here or there. And I found it interesting because I went, okay, we're pretty close to launch. Obviously, there's time to iron stuff out. I'm not super concerned, but it's worth noting is what I said. So I'm just saying it so you're aware in case things go left. Now we're seeing there may be problems with performance. There are problems with performance, but whether it's optimization or what have you, I don't know. Games are funky. It could be a number of reasons why it's not running at 60 FPS. But to me, the only thing that kind of went left was that lack of capture. Cog, you had the opportunity to interview Harvey, so you spoke with him at length, and we're there, making the rounds. So I'm just curious, did you pick up anything on the floor that maybe you thought was worth bringing to attention to our audience?
I didn't pick up anything that I would consider a red flag. I'm usually good about being, seeing if they're being cagey, what I mean, kind of thing. Obviously, like I said, what I played, was 60 frames. I felt for sure, what I mean? Like, it was just PC. There was no doubt it was PC, right? But when speaking with Harvey, though, I remember towards the end of the interview, like, we're still putting the final touches. We're still optimizing. We're still putting tweaks, right? So I'm like, okay. So to me, that indicates performance. That indicates, you're still trying to make sure everything is as smooth as possible. But nothing to the point where I was just like, yo, I thought, this was going to happen. So I can't go with lack of transparency yet, because at the end of the day, the direct question never really came up. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I thought there was the reason why this is such a surprise is because I thought there was no way it wouldn't be 60. This was not the game I was concerned about from a frame rate perspective for the reasons I said earlier. The graphical art style. The only thing that I knew was a technical challenge, which he told me, which was, I know doing 4-player co-op in an open world that is non-hubbed or stage-based is a technical challenge. I understand that because I come from State of Decay 2. I know what the tether system, and I mentioned that specifically to him. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. And he said, yo, I had to fight because the developers was like, bro, that ain't easy what you asking. So again, in respect for game development, I know what they're doing is, look, when I spoke to Undead Labs in the past, I'm like, bro, why y'all got to tell it? What's going on? Yeah. He's like, CPU intensive, bro. And the Xbox One, we can only push what we can push. You know what I'm saying? So I said, okay, fair, right? So here's the process with game development. If you want that player, truly open world, like Harvey's going in, like we are not left for dead, right? So I'm like, okay, that means it is ambitious from that standpoint. So this is probably the cause of the performance. If I had to guess, I'm not a dev, but I have to guess, this is probably one of the key factors if we had a ranking system. Because we know this game ain't graphically, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen game, right? So that's what it is. And the only thing, like I said, I'll go back earlier, as far as transparency, the issue comes down to the messaging as to when this information is going to be revealed. And here we are. So that I understand, if you want to go there, maybe you have an issue with that. But yeah, this was an internal decision that they clearly felt they had to put out there now to, I guess, soften said blow. The key for me is going to be what the engagement, because of this news, what happens to this engagement? Does this truly affect engagement, or is this, Twitter upset, but when the game comes out, they all in? Because I've seen that too. I've seen, the outrage on certain games, and then when the game come out, I'm looking at Twitter and everybody posted how much fun they. We're gonna see very quickly if this truly has that damaging blow effect.
I don't think it's going to sink the game by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think there's going to be some damage felt. I'm very curious what that player count will be as well, especially because, as I mentioned, the thing that's exciting about Redfall is it is, minus the untethered part, it's traditional 4-player co-op, which is just so rare. It's just so rare. Like, all we're always getting is, I mean, we even see microtransactions in Resident Evil 4 Remake, right? Like, the idea that they're not doing any of that crap, they're just doing 4-player open world co-op. I mean, that's exciting. That's exciting, man. And so to see it go left like this is disappointing. Sorry, you had something to say?
I guess I think I'm figuring out why. Like, remember, this news is still new. It's still fresh for me, right? So I think I'm figuring out why I'm disappointed. Because my feeling is that, like, you gotta know the room, right? The temperature of the room, this is not going to go well, right? So there's a part of me that at what point did you know, okay, we really can't get to this 60 FPS threshold in time? And is it, again, I don't want to blame Arkane, is it their fault for not being transparent with Microsoft earlier to say, hey, because here's my thing. It should be an all hands on deck Xbox hardware team. Like everybody, like this is
it's
a
a major
first party
exclusive. Absolutely.
Yeah, like that's what it is. So again, for people who are going to come from Microsoft and say, see, this is why Microsoft, you got an issue. These are the things they're going to bring, because people are going to say, this is your baby. You don't have no other platforms necessarily to worry about, but you're old. So how is this not an all hands on deck situation to get it at its target that it needs to be? That's where the criticism, I think, is fairly valid, right? So where is the gap there, right? Did they not communicate in time, or I don't know. I just don't know. And it's gonna come
what
out.
Frustrates me truly is, not only is like when you think less systems, we should be able to hit that mark, but it feels like the game lacks importance now. To me, again, I just can't help but receive it as a statement from the upper management on how they view this game, and I find it disappointing. We're coming off the back of this merger between Xbox and Bethesda, and we're seeing the fruits of that now. Hi-Fi Rush being an excellent surprise, right? Delivers on everything. And now I think the appreciation is only going to go higher because it's like, wow, like we got that at the start of the year, and you look at how situations develop, I feel like you can only go up for that game. But then you look at Redfall, man, it's like, in all honesty, truthfully, the start is really with Minecraft Legends, which is coming out ahead of this. But Redfall was the beginning of that Bethesda era of true exclusives. Like, they've marketed it. This is an Xbox game. They've teamed up with them, yada, yada, yada. And for it to start off like this is just, it almost is comical. Not to laugh at Arkane or Bethesda or Xbox, even though I think that's kind of fair at this point. But it's comical in that, like, man, the fans just can't get a win. Like, this was, again, the script writes itself. Okay, first really big Bethesda exclusive IP was announced. It was our show ender one of the years, by the way. And we're dropping it in 30 FPS and we don't care. We'll get 60 FPS later. Bro, that's multi-plat energy. Again, that's Xbox One energy. Like, that stuff is okay for that time, that type of situation. But I obviously don't need to state this to the Xbox audience, but I'll say it anyway for posterity's sake. Exclusives sell consoles. These are the unit movers. You see them and you go, wow, that looks amazing, and I can only get it there. What the fuck are you guys doing thinking selling a game like this, 30 FPS at launch, is going to do? That doesn't scream to me your box is premium, prestigious, that I got to go out and play your exclusives. It just is. It says, again, optics. I'm not talking about the game. I love Arkane. Optics. As you've noticed, my faith has been restored gradually with Redfall. So I'm not beating up on the game. I'm beating up on the executive decision-making here because it's poor as fuck. It's ridiculous that this is where they went with it. It should not, this is not the standard you set. And again, if you want, I will shift topics to Starfield because I just can't help but feel this is a primer for that. If you got something to say, but then I'll read it.
Yeah, last point I'll say, and again, I don't know what happened, right? So the last point was speaking with Harvey. He was very keen to me to tell me all the challenges Arkane had. I thought that was very interesting.
The pandemic game stuck out to me a lot.
But he talked about he talked about serious studio. It was like 5 things. I implore people to listen to this interview that I've done with him. And I didn't realize they had that much to deal with in creating this game, again, prior to the acquisition. So when I hear all the struggles of the studio, and I'm like, hey, man, you're approaching the finish line, you're getting there. And he's like, yeah, man, it has been a tough journey. So again, is it a situation where, one, the help needed for optimization was not communicated in time? Or B, is it a situation where executive leadership just said, hey, we heard you, but this game got to come out. And time is going to tell how this thing plays out. But yeah, this is disappointing. There's no doubt about it. There's no sugarcoat it, and let's get into the transition to what you're talking about.
All right. So let's read this right in from Papa Fridge, who says, "Hey boys, with the news that Redfall will launch on Series X and S at 30 FPS only, how are you feeling about Starfield on the FPS front? You think Todd the God will figure out 60 FPS, or will we be looking for a similar Twitter post in August breaking the bad news? Take care." Thank you, Papa Fridge, for writing in. I mean, what do you say, bro? I mean, it's kind of written in the stars, if you will.
And remember, in Cog's defense, I was preparing people. I've been subtly saying, like, yo, how would you feel if it's 30? Right? Now, again, what got my confidence back up was when we saw the delay announcement with it running in the back. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Off-camera gameplay, or off-screen gameplay, it's like, it looks better. It looks like it's smooth. I don't know, though.
It looks 60, but is that PC? Like, most likely PC,
sitting on the couch with a controller. I hope to God they're not faking it.
I mean, you can play PC with controller. But,
I mean, just like hooking it up to the big TV like that. Yeah, I was like, that's a pretty elaborate ruse there, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that would be god-tier fraudery. but like, look, man, listen, all bets are off right now. We just got to call it 100. Like, because of the Redfall situation, because it's, Bethesda, because of Todd's previous comments on graphical quality and detail and picking up every object, and that's what he values. He made it very clear. So now we're getting into this, Bethesda 30 frames energy, and man, it's not going to go well optic wise. Will this affect the game sales? Time will tell, because the games are great. We will see if gamers hold on and stand on their square, because gamers do talk. So what they about gamers, they talk a lot.
Yeah.
Talk a lot. But when it's time, I see the same dudes folding. So we're going to see. But yes, to the question of Papa Fridge, we would have to assume after Redfall, get ready. I don't have any confidence anymore in this 60. I mean, I didn't have it from the beginning, because I took what the man
foolishly so, maybe. But
you did. Oh, okay.
Because break it down. Again, I mean, it just goes back to, not to reiterate my old point, but it just goes back to that you focus now. Like typically, like I look at Starfield and be like, probably 30. And I will say that I think people will be more forgiving of Starfield's 30 FPS than Redfall's. Not because of hype.
Correct.
But this is where ambition does play a factor. I'm sorry. And that's not that Redfall is unambitious. Just when you look at Starfield, that is the Megaton exclusive. There's a reason why it's drawing the numbers, it's drawing the public eye. It's doing a lot of different things, not only compared to previous Bethesda Game Studios games, but any video game right now. It's just trying to do so much that some people will go, well, what did you expect? Where I do anticipate, if this is a Twitter post in August, obviously it may be a different situation, but it could be all right, it looks pretty good. Let's say we see the June gameplay, it looks amazing, yada, yada, yada. I don't think, though, now that I say that out loud, I don't think we'll be waiting that long to find out, because now that this is in the wind here, that question's getting fired right away. The second someone gets an interview with Todd after the developer direct, like, okay, so we saw it.
First,
performance
what's the frames? Yep, performance mode. It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
They got to be prepared for that, and I think it's going to be the question moving forward, because it goes back to optics. Like, now you've set this standard. You've set the second place standard, the silver medal standard for yourself. You're happy with just participating. So this is what you're going to get. This is the energy you're going to get from the press, creators, fans. If you want to play second fiddle all the time, welcome to that world. This is what's going to happen. So people are going to ask obvious questions that should be having obvious answers, like, will your big budget exclusive have performance mode at launch? And I know technology is getting more complex. We saw a Plague Tale Requiem launch, 40 FPS on or 45, I think, FPS on Xbox Series consoles, 30 on PlayStation. We're seeing it become a little more dicey as we push those graphics forward. But man, dude, I do think we are setting the stage for Starfield 30 FPS, because that gameplay we saw last year, 30, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
4K
that
30.
reveal was 30.
4K 30.
That first reveal was 4K 30. There's no question.
So, yeah, I think we're setting up the ball to be teed off for that, and I think it's going to sting again. I definitely think it's going to sting. I think less so, but I think it'll sting.
I mean, man, PC Game Pass is out here. PC Master Race is out here.
That's where we're going to see
200% growth. You know, if you don't like it, we have a place for you.
Yeah. And dude, no, it's totally fair to bring up. That's what we've been saying this whole time is the numbers will speak. I still think it's an L no matter what. I think it's an L because your core fan base got you to that reach. So you should probably give them the respect of a good version of the game, in my humble opinion. But yeah, we'll see Game Pass in its growth. We'll see how far reaching PC goes, how far reaching dare I say cloud goes. I don't know if you want to play online first person shooter with cloud, but we'll see how far it goes.
But let's say this, Matty. Let's just say, hypothetically, PC sales, PC Game Pass of Redfall and Starfield are through the charts.
We're talking sales?
Let's talk sales, engagement, the whole bit.
Just making sure
PC community PC community still buys games a lot of times, and they're like, yo, I just want to be on Steam, regardless if you in PC Game Pass, right? But let's just say PC Game Pass still, you get the concurrent growth, and you're just raking in the dough. And I'm just going to talk from a corporate cog perspective, pure corporate.
Of course, give me it.
So let's say they go, okay, you know what, guys? We know we ain't hitting that target on time, right? Because we're going to have to do all this optimization, get the damn game out, right? So they get the damn game out. Twitter gets mad, console guys get mad, right? But they still go engage with the game, right? Then you get 200% growth on PC Game Pass again. Redfall, Starfield, through the roof. They playing 60 frames, 100 frames, 120 frames per second. It's a masterpiece game. And you sit back, again, you sitting there like, well, the finances indicate otherwise after all that talk, right? And we balling right now. And this is an issue I bring this up with Bungie. The Destiny community is like, Lightfall, how dare, this is terrible. This is a far cry from Witch Queen. How could you launch this? They broke record growth more than Witch Queen. I was blown away. I just
feel like, again, it feels like a joke when you hear stuff like that because it happens all the time.
Yeah. So we sit there as the hardcore. That's why I want to be careful with the echo chamber that is Twitter, because this is how corporations think. Corporations say all that you talking and yelling is cute. Our bank account says this. Our engagement analytics on PC say this. So no one's listening to you, hardcore gamer guy. We got the numbers to show it. Yeah. And I'm very curious with Redfall and Starfield, what actually happened. Because if they get record PC growth, I'm telling you right now, I hate to say it. I hate to say this. And I don't ever want to encourage negative stepchild behavior on console. Be clear, COG is not about that. You got that base that you need to be loyal to, and they deserve that respect of having the most highest fidelity version on console. So I would hold their feet to the fire. But I'm very curious if you see that Aaron Greenberg post or that whoever post saying record engagement, 5 million planets discovered, 60 million vampires killed on the... You know how that post go, Matty.
I do.
Let's see.
I know what the counter post will be.
Oh, let's go.
The Steam player count in a month. Ooh. That'll be the counter post. And
true if it drops.
So I'm just going to... So corporate COG is on the money, and if they get their quick check in and out, great. I just think there'll be a narrative far beyond that precedes the game. And look, I'm pulling for them, man. Like I've been saying for a while, and everyone knows, I've been saying like, Redfall may not be my traditional Arkane cup of tea potentially. We'll see when I play it in full, whenever that is, whether it be review or at launch. But I want them to have that win, man. Like I want them to have that big win because they've been looking for it. They've switched IP so many times for a reason because they're looking for that big win. They kind of have it seems like, with Deathloop, with the reviews. I don't think we have many numbers. I'll have to check real quick on sales, but we know people loved it, right? And now Redfall, you've got the maybe 30 million people of Game Pass looking at you. That's why I think you got to show out. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I know you're not disagreeing, but that's why I think it's got to be the statement game more as much as Starfield is. Like, this is the start. This is the start for many people. And you talk about not reading the room. That's what it feels like to me. It's like, this isn't just another game, man. Not because I'm an Arkane fan, but this is the start. You can lie and tell yourself all generation long, we've been delivering, but there's sections of delivery. There is cloud gaming. Y'all have been doing great in that. Game Pass, I think, has only got better since the day one days. But your exclusives have not been it. They've been delivered here and there in bursts, and you're about to do it again. And so, again, I know you're not disagreeing with any of that.
Of course.
I just feel like you got to come out swinging because, what we're not thinking about is the future because we're not accustomed to this way of thinking of like when you see PlayStation come out with a new announcement, it's like, oh, is this like the next big series from them? Okay, what's that? But with Redfall, is there preparation for this to be a franchise, an Xbox franchise? Are we ready for that talk? And this energy, this preparation tells me no. Like, we'll see what's next for us. And maybe that's the way Arkane wants to roll. Maybe they're just rolling IPs, not to find one, but just they like to be creatively rejuvenated each time, which I totally get. But go on. What were you going to say?
This is good. I know we're going long, but this is a good discussion. We do know that there are going to be more characters, right? We do know that they have long-term tail with this. And, this just comes down to, if, Matty, you're the head here and you're Arkane right now.
Okay.
And
as I should be.
As you should be. and that this game is not going to launch in time at that performance mode. Mm. Does Matty sit there and say, Xbox, we need more time? Or, hey, it's got to come out. That's that discussion. I think it just comes as simple as that. And it's tough, man. It's tough because both ways is L based on the waiting for how long for this exclusive and also based on what, the console Xbox gamer deserves. This is tough.
Yeah.
But I do not like, this result so far.
Yes. So we'll see. The last question I'll ask before we move on to our next topic, Cog.
Let's go.
Two things. It's a two-part question. Do we anticipate a delay? And do we anticipate a statement? Which are kind of the same question in one, but do you think they respond to this? And if so, do you think they say, we hear you, we're going to move this back? Because they seem to have been doing that. Like they talked about what did they reverse decision on recently with Redfall?
Right. The online. They got blasted for the online. Remember
that's what it was. The online only.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember it. They got blasted for that and they've reversed decision. So Arkane has always been a very receptive, intimate style studio. That's what I love about them, man. Like they're always hearing out their fans. So they're going to hear this. And I think there'll be a conversation, but I think they're going to move into the launch as is. But I'm curious if you think, and by the way, move into the launch without saying anything. Like they already moved on to their next post on Twitter. Like they're already, it's just a page behind us now. So I think they're just moving on. Like I don't think they give a fuck. They're just going to launch as is and let it rock.
Yeah, it feels like it. I will say this though. This is getting a ton of negative reception. I mean, I shout to Paul Tassi, who I'm cool with. He had put a tweet. He looked at the engagement, and I know it's just Twitter, and Twitter, can be an echo chamber. But he did look at that engagement on that post. Oh boy,
most of that Redfall has ever seen for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't for the right reasons. So yeah, like one thing we do know is Microsoft has shown the ability to pivot if it's overwhelmingly negative. Games with gold, there was a quick pivot. We'll see.
Do you think they're going to though? Like
gun to my head. No.
Okay. We're both on the same team.
Only because whatever the time is needed potentially for Redfall to be 60 would probably internally conflict with the release schedule of the year.
And I think that may hurt the game even more, in fairness.
Right. And in Xbox's defense, I got to defend them on this. They're like, there's no feasible situation, bro. Like, hey, if we give you this time, you're not coming out this month because of X, Y, and Z. We got an announcement this month because of that. We had potential Forza this month. We got Starfield that month. And then we got maybe a Hellblade or maybe the Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so they're going to sit there and say, okay, we love you. But in this case, we gave you Starfield, bro. We let you rock, right? Mm-hmm. And sadly, Redfall may be sacrificed Because to your point, like the Gotham Knight example, if this does damage like some people think, and you may think, right? By the time the 60F, nobody gonna care no more. Let's be honest, unless you come with some, you might get lost to the source. This is gonna be a very interesting thing. I am very curious how this tracks when it releases. You have no idea. This is gonna be a good thought experiment, but that's all I got.
Yeah, I was actually just trying to see if there was any sales figures for Gotham Knights, but all we have is that it took number 2 in its first week of sales.
Oh, it took that 2 MPD. All right.
So it's hard to tell, but that'd be a really good way. I feel like those numbers should be out by now. That'd be a really good way to gauge how much this will impact things. But
yeah, and remember, crossplay. There's a lot. We're gonna see. We're gonna see if what matters. We're gonna learn a lot with this.
Ultimately disappointing for me, but yes, there's a lot of we'll see to this that we'll have to let play out. But
absolutely.
With that, we move into number 2 here. This one's pretty exciting, so let's get a little positive here. There has been a mega leak that features what looks like Persona 3 Remake, Jet Set Radio, and early gameplay of Sonic Frontiers Kronos Island before it was broken up into pieces later in the development cycle. This would line up with old reports such as Bloomberg saying months ago that they understood a new Jet Set Radio was in development, and now Gamatsu reports that a Persona 3 Remake has been in development for years, yet cannot confirm the validity of the footage that is leaked online. With that in mind, eagle-eyed fans have discovered a mysterious domain, which is p3re.jp, which was registered on March 15th of this year. RK128 writes in, after I requested someone write in about this stuff, by the way, so thank you, RK, for stepping up. Hello, Phantom Dukes of Hearts. With the recent leak of Persona 3 Remake, what are your expectations? It looks visually on par with Persona 5 Royal, and would be very curious if the game's system/mechanics migrate over to the Persona 3 narrative. Do you think this will also release on Xbox, or will Sony lock it down like Final Fantasy? Thank you, RK, for writing in and obliging me to talk a little bit about Persona 3 Remake. COG. What a leak. It's rare we get one game, but 3 in a gameplay batch is kind of crazy to think about here. We'll talk about Sonic in a little bit as Frog wrote in with a question on that. But yeah, of course, I got to turn my attention to my baby here. Got to talk about Persona. First. Bro, I've been on top of this. In fact, if anyone wants to check the validity of Mr. Matty, head over to a video I posted if you got 50 minutes to burn called The Future of Persona. And in that video, myself and 2 of my good friends, we do a deep dive into Persona 5 Royal, upcoming Persona games, and predict the roadmap. Now, the reason that's all very interesting is not only so far have we been accurate with the ports and the timing of the ports and whatnot, thanks to that video, but I'll just say we spoke with someone at Sega who we asked, hey, would you guys mind sharing this video out a little bit? And they're like, yeah, sure. They never did. And and they never responded afterwards. And me thinks, this is just hypothesizing, me thinks they may have saw it and went, oh boy, if we promote this, not like, oh, they're going to leak it all out, but almost giving validity to the video that is predicting their schedule. And if we're on point with a ton of shit, because they've worked with me outside of that, beyond that. So I was like, okay, so we're just going to skip over that. I mean, it didn't happen. Yeah, okay. Got it. So I just want people to check that video out, not to gas me up, but just to say, like, we have been on top of this for a while. Really, since Persona 5 Royals DLC had the main character, Persona 3, fully animated, evoker to the head, shooting himself, summoning Orpheus, we were like, this is oddly detailed. The Persona 3 dancing game was suspect as well. Why now? All the models are there. Looks beautiful. Why? And we hypothesized and we're like, they got to be working on a 3 remake. They've got to be. Now we're seeing it. And obviously, Persona 3, you could argue 1 and 2, of course, but Persona 3 is the one that's just, it needs the remake. It not only deserves it, but it needs it, man. Like, it was the breakout game that series needed for its radical change in its gameplay compared to what other JRPGs were doing. It's radical change to what the franchise was doing before that. This is where the social stuff was added in that people love about the franchise. This is where it began. But 3 has a lot of SMT energy in it as well. So you'll go in there, if you're playing on normal difficulty, you're going to get smacked around. If you go in there and you recognize, oh, Tartarus. There's no visual diversity here. It's 250 plus floors of the same looking shit, and it's pretty fucking awful. It was fine for its time, but it's pretty awful. We're also in a period of time, as I've talked about on Retro Rebound on here, where Persona 3 has 3 very different versions. There's Persona 3 that launched. There's FES, which is, think of it like Persona 5 Royal for Persona 3. Like, it added an epilogue, some new demons to summon, et cetera, et cetera. Then you've got Persona 3 Portable, which adds in a female protagonist, a little different ending, changes to the story. So there's all of these parts that have not come together in one definitive version ever. I'll spare you all the details and just say that. They all have different components, whether it's 3D gameplay, controlling your party members.
Wow.
Like that's absent in every version except for Portable. So all this shit just has not come together in one definitive version yet, Cog. And like for us Persona fans, this is time for it. Like, this is it. Persona is not at the peak of its popularity, I think. Like, I think it can still reach Final Fantasy status, but it's getting there after 5. So Remake in 3, I'm so excited, especially because this is my pie in the sky hope.
Let's go.
So obviously Persona 5 has the palaces, right? These very personalized dungeons that you go into based around the villain of that arc, and all the mechanics are built around them. A lot of personality in them. Sounds very different from what I described with Tartarus, but Tartarus is split up into blocks. So you'll go up 16 floors and then you'll end the first block. And then you'll go up another 30 floors and you'll end the second block. And my theory was always, these blocks are absolutely perfectly designed where you could just turn them into palaces. And each palace that's complete, you're on the next block. And you'd slightly tweak the story for that. But man, I hope that's what they do, Cog. I really, really do. Because this game's story is really sad, really somber. There's every Persona game is built around a theme. Persona 3's is about life and death. And as someone who has gone through their battles with existentialism often, even in my young age, because I just was so afraid of death for so long, this game really spoke to me in my college years. And I hope more people get to experience it in its best possible way. But it's for those who haven't seen the gameplay, it's Yukari shooting her bow. There was no evoker. Some people were worried about that. I think it's because it's just a crit hit, so she's just using her bow. I'd be surprised if Atlas removed the evoker. For those who don't know, they take a gun and shoot themselves in the head to not only does it play into the theme of life and death, but that's how they summon their persona. But I'm hyped, bro. I'm so hyped for this. And I think we're going to see it this year officially. Like, I think this is the year it gets announced. I don't know if it comes out this year. If it does, oh my God, the year of dreams, man. Starfield, Network, or Persona Remake.
You are eating, bro.
Just bring it in. All we need is the KOTOR Remake gameplay, and oh my God, I'm done. But I went on for a while. There's much more here.
You're tough.
I know we talked about Jet Set a lot here, so I'm curious of your thoughts on that. As someone getting into Persona more, I'm curious of your thoughts on that. Sonic, you're getting there, man. You're getting to the newer Sonic stuff. What do you think of what was leaked?
Massive news. Sega's cooking, man. Atlas is cooking. Sega's cooking. I'm actually hype about Jet Set, and for sure. Like that to me is such a classic franchise. And to see it get the attention and the love that it deserves is iconic, man. So you got that, Persona to me, I love what Sega is doing because now, listen, to answer the question, let's answer the question first because my man, as far as Arcade, he's basically saying, well, do you think this will release on Xbox or Sony lock this down like Final Fantasy? This situation, I'm more confident that Xbox will be a part of that on launch. And whether or not it launches on Game Pass day one is another question, but there's no chance I see it missing the platform based on the improved relationship that I predicted between Atlas and Xbox now, and they've seen that one, it can flourish on this ecosystem. It's also given Persona a shot in the arm from a popularity standpoint because I remember seeing the engagement of 5 and people going they how happy they were with what was going on as far as engagement as if it was a brand new title. So Xbox fans did actually go out and support that. And that was dope. As far as Sonic, classic, seeing that redone. First of all, whoever leaked this trailer is out here snitching on the whole thing. Like this trailer is like I've never seen a 3-game snitch reel of like a whole. Like I'm like, damn, they got the whole product out here. Like who got this one? So yeah, they tighten up Sega a little bit, but no, this is a huge trifecta, man. This is huge. In my opinion, there's no doubt all 3 will be in the Xbox ecosystem. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited because the hardcore get what they want, but also, like you said, it's kind of like that collection vibe, getting it all together the right way on the platform from the Persona side. And Jet Set is long overdue, and Sonic is, come on, his resurgence speaks for itself. So this is fantastic news for Sega.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of, remember when we dedicated that DDU? It's like one of our favorites to breaking down the Sega chart for the remakes, the remasters, the reboots and stuff. And now we're seeing the fruits of that too, man. It's because they got so many great IPs. That's why I say, man, like quickly we saw the internet just go, what's going on over there? That's why I say if Xbox is going to grab and marry any of these studios,
that's organic. That's organic. They've been dating for a long time. They've been talking for a long time. They are the spiritual successor. You know, Xbox, a lot of people consider them the spiritual successor. Sega makes a ton of sense. So yeah.
I'm very excited for these games, though. Let's move on to the next write-in from Frog, who says, "Hey, Dukes, I know the biggest Sega news this week will be about Persona 3 Remake possibly leaking, but I wanted to ask about a piece of smaller Sega news. The Sonic Frontiers footage from the same internal reel from 2021. In that footage, Frontiers looks significantly improved from a visual and fidelity standpoint, so it makes me wonder, what do you think happened? Was it just the Switch holding the game back, or do you think Sonic Team was simply unable to properly optimize the game to make it look like that leaked footage? It's an odd situation since this can be used as a sign of false advertising when the footage was never meant to be public, but it is interesting that a significantly more polished version of Sonic Frontiers did exist. Thanks as always for the great content, and we just released a port of Persona 3 Portable, and now we'll sell the game again as a remake kind of day." Thank you, Frog. All right, so yeah. No one knows the ins and outs of this, Frog, on the why they would trim down how the game looks. My guess is for optimization purposes, like, oh, it's running like crap this way, so we're gonna demand less from the hardware. Sorry, holy shit. And so we're going to try to get it to run better that way. That would be my assumption from a starter conversation point, is just knock it down a bit so that it can run better. Because, for example, Sonic is all about speed. So you need to be able to load in these environments quick as he's zipping all over the place. And that will come with graphical sacrifices, because you can't have Sonic looking like Hellblade 2 out here and then going at the speed he does. You got to pick one or the other. And so I think that's what happened there. That would be my personal guess. But yeah, it's really interesting. And if anything, before Gamatsu stepped down and commented on it, this added the most validity to what was happening in those other pieces with Jet Set and with Persona 3 Remake. It was like, we know that Sonic footage is real. Now we have the game and we know that's early footage. So that was fascinating to me. But I wouldn't say they could have ever been used as false advertisement, because games do change dramatically when they're in development, as we all know. We just talked about a situation that changed dramatically, right? It can change overnight. So, and we've seen the Ubisoft E3 comparisons. Like, games definitely change. And the best part is when you're a developer, you just try to keep that hidden. Just try to keep it tucked away. And so, unfortunately for Sonic Team, this one did get the slip, but I didn't read into it too much as I did with Persona 3 Remake and Jet Set Radio, which Jet Set, man, I'm just like, oh, they're doing it, man.
They're doing it. They do it. That's your baby right there. I'm surprised you didn't go harder on that. I thought you was going to give me some more balls for that.
You know why? It's because I'm really excited for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and I trust Sega will deliver in Jet Set Radio. Don't get me wrong, but like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is, I think it's open world, but you get bikes. I think you get skateboards, rollerblades, and the amount of like tricks you can do and stuff. It looks like the only enemy of Jet Set Radio is its controls. Like, it just feels awkward to play. Even in the HD re-release they did on Vita and PS3, like, it just feels kind of weird and wacky. It feels old. And so all I need is that same gameplay, same wacky art style, same crazy soundtrack, but now bigger and smoother. And that's what that game looks to be doing. So I can wait for what Sega's doing on this. Like, I'm ready for the OGs to make their return, but Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is where I have my eyes focused on right now in the near future. After that, then it's Jet Set Radio time. But for me, yeah, it's all about that Persona 3 remake. I forgot to mention this. A lot of people thought this was Persona 5X is what I believe it's called, which is this Chinese mobile release of Persona 5 that has like a new story and stuff. And I actually want to play it just because I'm helplessly addicted to the franchise. But, yeah, a lot of people were wondering if it was gameplay from that, but the damage numbers, I was looking at gameplay for Persona 5X versus what we've seen in other games, and these are different damage numbers compared to that game. So at least we know it's probably not P5X, like Yukari is like a gotcha that you can summon or whatever. I don't think that's the case here, but we'll see. Fingers crossed, though, man. I mean, Persona 3 Remake.
I know.
I've been patient.
You've been patient. Yeah, I don't too much to add, man. You pretty much knocked it out the park with all the things I was going to say. So it's like, yeah, and as far as the trailers and stuff like that, that's why I always wait until you get close to release, because then you start to really get into the gameplay and see what the game looks like. But I don't think that what I saw was obviously what was sold before, yes, did look a little bit more improved. But, from what we're seeing closer, still looks good to me. So, I'm in. But
yeah, I just love this leak footage. Has Beat doing his fucking dance from the it's so good.
It looks cool, man. So I'm happy on the existence. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
Let's move on to number 3. More good news here. Perhaps you're looking for a little replacement for Redfall. Let me just, for some reason, this release date doesn't look right. Hold on. I'm gonna double check double
check that one. I was shocked too.
That looks way soon. Oh no, it is that soon. Okay, I'm just double checking. I thought I maybe missed a number when I put it in. I thought it was 24th, but it's not. Anyway, sorry. Ravenlok launches on May 4th. You may remember this one from the Xbox Game Showcase last year. Voxel art style, action RPG, Alice in Wonderland vibes. It got a release date. Day 1 Game Pass, for those who don't remember. Ravenlok launches May 4th. This game looks fantastic. I implore y'all to go look up this release date trailer. Look at the boss variety, the scope, the scale, the visual diversity of this world. It looks tremendous, man. A lot of Death's Door energy here. Like, this is a high quality indie style game. Like, get ready, y'all. I think this one's going to be a moment where a lot of folks are going to act surprised, but we're all putting our flannels on now. You have an opportunity to join me. Slide on that checkered shirt. Join me here in the flannel army. Ravenlok looks fantastic. Coming out May 4th. Cog, you going to be playing?
I don't know if I'm going to be playing because, again, May is May. You know what I'm saying? There's still things I want to play.
You busy with 30 FPS energy? Your Xbox One fire?
I ain't going to fraud. I'm going to be playing. I know I'm going to be playing Redfall. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and fraud, even as disappointed as I am. But look, Ravenlok looks really impressive. And it's the makers of Echo Generation. The art style looks beautiful. Yeah. I just know I'm not going to be able to find time in that window. I'm going to be 4-player deep, doing what I do, breaking down all 30 of the frames in all the ways that I can break it down, because that's the style of game that I'm going to gravitate towards. But this looks cool, and people should support it, though. At the end, it really looks good.
Absolutely. So Ravenlok coming May 4th. Please go look at that release date trailer. And remember, coming day 1 to Game Pass. And I love that they kept the window short, like just so close now. I was so excited for this one. So again, May 4th. See you there. Now we move on to the 4th news topic of the show. Microsoft has announced another new 10-year commitment, and this time it's with UK mobile network EE. Phil Spencer writes on his Twitter account, quote, Microsoft and EE are expanding our partnership with a 10-year commitment in cloud gaming to bring PC games built by Activision Blizzard following the acquisition and Xbox to EE customers. We are committed to bringing more games to more people, however they choose to play, end quote. I mean, man, we're just discovering so much about the world with these deals, man. I haven't heard of half these companies at this point. Who the fuck is Boosteroid EE? This is, god damn, this is crazy.
Bro, we are learning about, the operations in the EU and in other countries internationally, and, the importance of these platforms. And yeah, I didn't know anything about them. I was just trying to do a little bit of research on them. But from what I understand, the key part is the PC games aspect. People are really, but they're stressing it. They say this could be different, like PC games as a whole, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. And I'm very curious about this. People are telling me, pay attention to this specifically. This has larger implications because I believe Xbox was pressed on, what do you mean by that? They pressed as opposed to just a normal cloud deal. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, this is more significant, and both parties are not willing to comment anymore at this time. So that there could be more implications here. Keep an eye out for this EE one. This is very significant. But yeah, I didn't know anything about this, but it goes to show you, they're going to do everything they can to placate regulators and to show, hey, this cloud thing is what we're doing when we acquire. And then the thing that I noticed that they said the verbiage was following the acquisition. A little bit of confidence that's going in.
A lot of confidence in that one.
Little verbiage, what I'm saying, kind of thing. So yeah, they're in line to really go above and beyond to show regulators we have tremendous plans to spread this thing out. You have nothing to fear with what we're doing over here, kind of energy.
Yeah. And as always, I say, this isn't going to be the last one. Prepare yourselves. Probably in a week or two, we'll have another one to talk about. Microsoft themselves, I think Brad Smith had said there's going to be more. We're going to announce a ton of them. So this is just another in a long line. But this one being in the UK is a little more interesting just because they are trying to get more global with that type of stuff. And so if you can reach those countries in a timely manner, mind you, as the EU is still reviewing the deal, would definitely work in their favor, I believe, too, just given that recency bias of the deal. So with that, we move on to, sorry, do you have anything else to add?
No. Okay. You're all fine. That was it.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure. I thought I cut you off.
Oh, no. You good.
All right. Number 5, Xbox may be exploring official emulation options for their consoles. I thought this one was really interesting. So this all started off of Modern Vintage Gamer reporting that Xbox may have blocked their emulators in retail mode. And he said he can't say he's surprised and that you should stick to developer mode where it's a walled off sandbox. Now, here's the interesting thing I'm discovering in real time here.
Yeah,
the tweet has been deleted.
The tweet is deleted. Yeah, I was like, yo.
One sec, y'all. I've had this. I checked yesterday. Yeah. I think it was still there. So give me 1 second.
No, you good. I just peeped it too.
That is so funny. I've never. I thought about that the other day. Mm-hmm. I was like, I wonder if that would. How could that ever happen to us? And well, let's see here. Let's see here. TheRot.com should have a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Oh man, here we go.
They purged it.
I mean, yeah, wow, you gotta be kidding me, man. It was like
bro.
Hold on.
Let's see.
This is hilarious.
This is hilarious because we saw it. We all saw this. Hold on, wait, The Verge may be on it. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Because what is the tweet? Let me see. Now it's pointed out by Gamer. You can emulate games on the Series X, but only if you put the device in developer mode. Users for
yeah, I'm actually not finding this tweet at all, but I can quickly summarize it. I apologize. Actually, you know what I can do? Mr. Matty Archives is coming in high. Give me 5 seconds here.
Do your thing.
Because I have it in a video. I have the screenshot there.
Woo! Let's go. Professional podcast.
Yes, we're usually on our shit, so we're allowed to dilly-dally for just a moment here. Hold on. Here we go. Hold on. I think I got the tweet right. Yeah, I'm talking about Square Enix here. Shut up, Matt. Shut up. Here we go. Got it. Okay.
All right, let's go.
Apologies. Okay. Mm-hmm. So someone writes, Aliana McKenna writes, I'll copy and paste my email from a friend at the Xbox QA team. This is what was written in response to the tweet I just read from MVG saying that Microsoft has blocked emulators in retail mode. Little backstory on this, by the way. So what was happening was a lot of Xbox fans, obviously Xbox couldn't market this, but Xbox fans were coming around and getting like RetroArch and all these different emulators on their box and playing GameCube games, old Xbox games, and so on and so forth on their console. And it was like a low-key selling point, but Microsoft couldn't tout it, right? Now, given that it was being removed, there was a lot of controversy from people going, why are you removing this great feature? Obviously a legality thing. But here's the interesting part is it was revealed in this potential letter that they may be, exploring an official option. So she writes, and by the way, she was a developer at Azure when she wrote this. So interesting partnership there. Yeah, hi there. Thanks for getting in touch with us about the recent ban on emulators on the Xbox storefront. We appreciate your interest and concerns. To answer your questions, the primary reason for the ban is related to the legal issues with Nintendo. While emulating itself is not illegal, it can be used to play games from consoles that are still under copyright protection without permission, which can create issues with Nintendo and its affiliates. Additionally, we take security seriously, and some emulators require permissions beyond what is typical for an app. This could be create a potential security risk, as these permissions can be exploited by bad actors to gain access to sensitive information. For these reasons, we have made the decision to ban emulators on the Xbox storefront. However, we understand that many users have dev mode enabled to run legal emulation. We don't seek to remove this ability, as it doesn't grant access to the retail components of the system and is considered safe. Unlike retail emulators, dev mode is limited to certain functionalities and doesn't have the system read-write functionality. That said, we are still exploring ways to allow safe and legal emulation on Xbox. We are in talks with legitimate emulator developers to bring their software onto our platform while ensuring that all copyright laws and security protocols are followed. We appreciate your understanding and patience as we work through this issue. Our goal is to provide a safe and enjoyable gaming experience for everyone, and we are committed to finding a solution that meets those goals. If you have any further questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. Best regards, whomever wrote this one. So, that is the story here.
Good stuff, Manny. Good stuff.
So with that, Cog, I'm just going to poke around in the meantime and make sure there are any updates. What do you think on what I shared there about Microsoft potentially looking into a more official emulation support on their Xbox? Because we know Dolphin is coming to Steam, for example. So it seems to be moving in that direction. What do you think?
Yeah, shout out to my man MVG, Modern Vintage Gamer. Always a lot of respect. He gave ILP. He actually sourced us for something with Jason Ronald one time. So I got a lot of respect for him on that. Got to work together. Look, I do think it's one of the two in the sense that from a legal standpoint, copyright and all that other stuff, licensing and all that stuff, with other consoles on this emulation one. I also do think it's some type of security risk as well. And there's been kind of like, I don't say like a cease and desist kind of thing, but look, you can't give bad actors any type of entry point into it outside of dev mode, which is a little bit more secure. And I think that's where the comfortability lies. I am surprised that it was allowed to go on that long. It was kind of like a low-key selling point for those in the tech community to be like, yo, if you got a Series S, what you can do with it, you can do all this, that kind of thing. So that part was so cool. And what's funny is I remember setting it up. I never tried like one or two things, but I was very impressed with, for the most part, the ease of setup. So I think that's what it is. I want to give them credit though, the fact that looks like they are going to do their own, emulation mode, but we'll see to what extent. So look, stick to dev mode. It's more of a walled sandbox, more of a protection kind of thing. The security, from a gamer standpoint, I get it, gamers. You want to go in, I get it. From a security standpoint, I also have to understand, if they backdoor you, we've seen the death of the Vita because of stuff like this. We've seen the death of consoles we love. So one hand, you're like, I'm getting over, but you could theoretically kill a console you love based on the fact that everybody's in there party central. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what it is. That's the realities of the security business.
Yeah, I actually just found an additional statement here. Doesn't change anything that you had to say. So that's why I didn't want to interrupt. Xbox did issue a statement on the information circulating and said, quote, "The information circulating on Twitter is not accurate," reads a statement from Microsoft. "Our actions are based on a long-standing policy on content distributed to the store to ensure alignment with our Microsoft Store policies per 10.13.10. Products that emulate a game system or game platform are not allowed on any device family," end quote. So it's another one of those situations where we hear one thing and then the other. I think of Redfall where PS5 was canceled. No, it wasn't. Now we're kind of getting one of those things. So it's a little back and forth on it nonetheless. But that is the latest word on it. For me, I find it very interesting that they could potentially explore this, because I do think it would be a pretty noteworthy selling point for the box itself, just given the fact that if you could say, again, Dolphin's coming to Steam, just be like, Dolphin's here if you want it. We're not going to say what you can do with it, but Dolphin's here. Like hosting the emulator, to my understanding, is fine. It's using it that becomes the problem for a lot of these companies. But I imagine Xbox would like to avoid that because they can't really market it. But here's Steam Deck is outside marketing it. I will always remember seeing that trailer. I think it was before it launched, man. And they had a Nintendo Switch emulator in the beginning of the trailer. I was like, holy shit. Like, that's not even old software, bro. That's brand new stuff that they're emulating. They're like, yeah, we don't give a fuck. Put it in the official trailer.
That was wild.
I love that. So Xbox probably could get cute with it, but I see they're going to probably stay on the safe side. But I urge them to look into it because I think it's pretty cool that Xbox had that feature in the first place at all. Definitely helped the box stand apart from the rest. Number 6, Cog. Last one, and then we'll talk about our Game Pass pick of the week. Joe Staten is officially leaving Xbox. Microsoft has confirmed. In their message, it was not said where he's headed, if anywhere at all, or why he has left so soon after his departure from 343. The quote is, "We're grateful for Joseph's contributions to the Halo franchise and Xbox as a whole. We wish him all the best in his new adventure," end quote. Joe Staten commented on the matter on his personal Twitter account and states, quote, "Hey folks, I am indeed leaving Microsoft. I'll have more info to share soon, but for now, I'd just like to thank all of my Xbox colleagues for all their understanding and support as I embark on a new adventure," end quote. Now, we did dedicate a whole DDU to this. We're not going to spare any detail, but we do have a much deeper dive on that 40 plus minutes. So, of course, you're not going to get the full dive as you would in a DDU, but still, let's address it, Cog. Joe Staten out. PlayStation? Bungie? Is my man going to make his own studio? What's going on here, Cog?
That's the question, right? Those are the questions. And, again, pretty much a Microsoft / Bungie lifer and tremendous in the industry. We know the accolades, the writing, the getting the demos of Halo 2 on. Like, this man has iconic stories. So, yeah, this was a blow for me personally because, I consider him one of the stewards of the franchise. And to your question, like, what happens now? Does he... you've been there so long, do you go back to Bungie, right? Where you have those relationships. Then there's a part of me that says, hey, maybe he's like, you know what? I'm ready to do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to do my own thing. And then we have to admit that, the way the 343 situation came about, in my opinion, not in my opinion, he's kind of iterated it to Ryan McCaffrey, that he kind of got up off the couch on his own volition to volunteer his services to Bonnie Ross at the time based on the negative backlash that Halo Infinite was getting. So to me, he will always have tremendous respect for that, to have enough cachet in the room to say, hey, you guys need a delay. Also, here's some input I can give to what the essence of Halo Infinite is. And I still feel he was able to, based on the circumstance, when you come in and consult, the thing is already pretty much done, but you can make tweaks in development, similar like to Mark Dara, what we assume he's going to do now with Dragons kind of thing. So look, this is a legend in the game. I got tremendous respect for him. I'm dying to know what he does on his next opportunity. And my only thing in reference to Halo Infinite is, what are you going to do with the narrative?
Yeah.
That's my question. How does that go, especially with Infinite? Was the name Infinite leads to believe like it's going to be here, that there's going to be more content. So now does that whole thing change based on all the major shakeups that they had? That is my curious question with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope we get answers on that sooner rather than later, but I imagine they're just going to want to go quiet, focus on that live service support for Infinite until they maybe even just figure out what they want to do next, because their next step is so precious. Like, they really, we've been saying for a while, they can't afford to mess it up. But with Joe Staten, this is, it's so funny. We talk about consolidation in the industry. We talk about acquisition, but this is why us Dukes don't show much concern in the face of that, because let's say Staten goes out, the guy who landed the plane for Halo Infinite, tremendous FPS experience, tremendous online experience. I mean, this guy was co-creator of two of the most fundamental FPS shooters, Jesus Christ, I'm falling apart here in the final moments. First-person shooters in all of gaming, in Bungie's Destiny and Xbox's Halo. Like, that's not something anyone could really say, except for a small, select few. The idea that he could take all that he learned, all that maybe even recently experienced at 343, and went like, man, this is a little chaotic here. This little faction war y'all got going on, 400-plus person team contractors. I want to do things my own way, and I think I could do it much better. And that's what you get, the exodus. You now net the talent based off reputation. You get a new studio potentially that has a lot of first-person shooter pedigree, and they come out with something new, fresh, unique that could challenge the greats. I know it's, of course, all hinging on if that's what he's actually doing. It could possibly not be that. But I'd like to say that if I were to put my bets down on anything, I think that's what he'd do. I don't think it makes sense for, after everything, to just switch teams, we'll say. So like, I'm going to go work at Bungie and maybe head up like one of the expansions. You know, I know you proposed that.
Unless that bag is crazy. No, I don't propose. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. Yeah. But we have to be clear, the bag could be crazy too.
It could be.
If they offer.
It could be, right? The PlayStation funding is there. So it's definitely true. But I want to project a little bit and say, I feel like he could see his own team, oversee his own team. And if that's the case, man, like, that's exciting. Like, that's what it's all about, right? You see these new studios getting roped in, but new ones are constantly being born. And so I hope that's what he's doing. Truly, I know he's getting up there in his like 50s and whatnot. So, you know, it'd be cool to see him kind of like go out and just strike out on a big venture like this and start up his own company. Because when you work in that, pardon the term, cog, if you will, for a while, I imagine you want to be free of that and kind of run your own ship, right? And granted, he was given a lot of autonomy there at 343, but I think, you know, if you can run your own company, why not?
Right. There seems to be some benefit to this, right?
Yeah.
Like what's so cool about what you said, Matty, is like these could be the byproduct of acquisition. Like you're seeing examples of this all the time. You see Playground, Mike Brown, he's invested talent. You see people from BioWare, they're foreign archetype. It just seems that when somebody gets acquired, they get it back. It's not all just doom and gloom. Sometimes those leadership positions, they realize, you know what, I can do this myself and I can do it better. And here's what I could create under my vision. It's very interesting. It's such a novel concept, right?
It is. Just full circle, baby. Full circle. No need to panic here. So that's what's going on with Joe Staten. Best wishes to him and his new adventure. Obviously a legend in the game for Microsoft. Very key piece in building pretty much their most important IP, if you will. And of course, a key reason why Halo Infinite got out at all in the state it did, with a lot of the key changes to it that we as fans like. So salute to Joe. Appreciate his time at Microsoft and all he offered Xbox fans, and best of luck again on his next adventure. And again, interview bucket list. He's one we got to get on with the Dukes.
Yeah.
Talk to him about it.
For sure.
Cog. It's time now to move on from the news to the Game Pass pick of the week. And you, sir, are up. And I'm waiting for the shirt explanation. There's always a reason behind the shirt. And I'm wondering if there's a connection here, if that was Sifu energy. I'm just waiting for you to kind of pull the narrative thread here on what's the shirt.
Today, actually, it was normally I do that. Today, there was just no reason. I was rushing. I was just like, I'm grabbing this shirt.
I took your energy. I threw on the Barkfield shirt because I was feeling some energy for another game in light of today's news.
Bro, normally I do exactly that. I was scrambling today.
Yeah, crazy work. Totally hear you.
So I was scrambling. But so yeah, Game Pass pick of the week, man. So Ghostwire Tokyo, we got to talk about this. You know what I mean? This is something I completely avoided on PlayStation for reasons. Obviously, I knew the acquisition was happening. You know, eventually that I would get this and play this. You know, obviously Tango is a studio that I'm very interested in because I'm like, yo, Xbox has a Japanese studio, right? And again, this was a deal that we knew PlayStation had the exclusive. Xbox honored the deal, but then once they were acquired, once the terms of the deal is over, now it comes to the Xbox platform. All right, let's get right to it. Let's go get the bad out the way. We got to talk about this performance, bro.
Oh, is it really bad? I saw Jez's tweet, but I didn't know if it was actually the case. I didn't see Twitter popping off, you know?
All right. Bro, all right, we going to get that. The reason I have my phone is because I had to save some settings that I have to help the Xbox community with right now. Because, all right, first off, you start the game, is definitely 30 frames and less energy. It has this weird anti-aliasing thing going on where it's like very grainy. So I'm trying to mess with the film grain, and I'm just like, there's parts of the game I'm like, man, this looks beautiful when you're inside, but sometimes when you're trying to do the rain and all the street lights, it just was looking a little weird to me. And I'm just like, something performance-wise seems off. So for my OLED guys, make sure you put it on HF. There's a setting. You go into game options. You go in the graphics mode. There's HFR performance mode with VSync. All my OLED dudes, put this on. Oh my God, it's night and day. Oh, it is so smooth. Wow. Oh, it is so much nicer and a little bit faster on the frame rate, the fidelity. Even just turning, I was like, here we go. This is much better. Now, it still doesn't take away from some of the outside anti-alien issues with a little fuzziness, but that's it. So let's get to the game. So it looks like you start off, this young guy, and horrible thing happens to him accident-wise. I'm not going to get to too much spoiler details, but, basically you're up out of this life. And you are in battle with someone who wants to take control of your body now that you have moved on from this world, so to speak. And it is an interesting opening dynamic between this entity and you as the main character. So it starts off, Tokyo energy. You're trying to figure out what's going on. It's this dark city. There's these really strange beings. And this is where at first it was giving me like Kojima energy, but cool. Not weird for the sake of being weird.
Yeah, I got it.
To deliver packages all over a city.
Yeah.
This was actually cool. I'm like, okay, what is going on? What is happening here? Why is this entity trying to take me over? And then there's this nice dynamic between, because the character doesn't, he's like you. He does not know what's going on, what's happening. And this entity is making it clear, bro, you're going to give me this body or it's going to be problems. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? So it becomes, as the game goes on, this kind of trust between you and this entity. And then you see what's really going on and you realize what the entity is truly trying to do, right? For the intentions of saving things, right? So let's get to the gameplay. Okay, so first off, the combat is very hand signals-y, right? So you got your block when you press R bumper. You have your spells when you can do this thing like with elements with your hands. It's very kind of Shaolin-y.
I love that.
Yeah, it's very, whatever y'all be doing with this,
jutsus.
It's that.
Love that.
Right. So that part is cool. Now the combat, first of all, it definitely has, I like the energy. I like the horror, subtle horror vibes. Not like jump scare thing, but like, yo, I'm a little uneasy. I'm uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable here. We're going in a hospital. This whole city is deserted. What has happened? There's loose spirits running around. And then what I love about the game is they call him KK. That's the spirit. First of all, it plays automatically with what is it, dub? You call it without the English.
Yeah,
it's beautiful without the English, right? It's just he's telling you like, look, move, get over. Do you want to die? If you don't listen to me, you're right. Like it's that kind of energy. And your guy's like, but what's going on? It's just a beautifully told, eerie horror story in this world of Japan where spirits and everyone is gone and you don't know what's going on. So then now when you face enemies for the first time, and the combat, okay, I'm not going to say the combat was so like, oh my God, it was crazy, but it's cool when you execute moves and you understand the synergies. And then you beat people, you take the souls out of them, you get this device, and then you're basically storing these souls. So you don't know why you're doing it in the beginning. You're just trying to get to your sister because this guy's like, look, if I'm going to give him my body, I got to find out what happened to my sister in this whole thing. And you go to this hospital, then you learn the story starts to open up. Where the game really started to get me, though, is after that part, you realize what you're up against. Oh boy, it is some real devious, evil stuff going on. This world is so cool. And I would say it's open world, but not overwhelming open world. You can still see certain hub aspects to it. It's very dense. But the thing about the city, which I like, which really turned me on, was that the verticality of the game. You could start to get up on rooftops. You're moving around. You're gliding around. And that part really opened me up. And then it does have side quests, which kind of expound more. But the main story is captivating. Bro, I'm sticking with it. I want to know what's at first I was like, this is going to be, let me play for a few and drop. Bro, I caught myself. I was supposed to do it. It was one of them joints where I was supposed to do it like, 1-2 hours, see how it is. And then, nah, bro, it was 5-6. And I'm going through the chapters. Bro, I'm sticking with it.
Nice.
So unless it continues. Now, I will say this. The combat, because it could get stylish, right? You could start messing up all these different spiritual entities. And then they got this thing that when they get into like a finishing state, and they have these cores, these spirit cores that you have to pull out, yank, you get more energy to be able to do more moves again. But while you're doing this, you could be hit by the enemy.
Oh.
And it's basically that the enemies are not hard, but they overwhelm you. Right? So what I realize is you have to get into the skill tree. Skill trees. Skill trees are so good when they're expansive. I have a greater appreciation for skill trees now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, man, the skill trees really help you with all aspects of gameplay, combat, and equipment. And I started to get into the flow of the game. And there's things that you could do that you could rip the souls out faster. You could do ground stuff.
Nice.
It is really cool. It is a stylish, it's very ambitious. My only negative was like, damn, if this game graphically looked tighter from a performance standpoint, we would be talking about it as one of them games. It's just that the performance does get in the way for experience sometimes a little all over the place.
Gotcha.
But I recommend people try it. It's dark, Japanese horror. It's different. And it's funny too because of the interactions of the characters and the narrative. So yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo got me. Okay. I'm going to see this thing out, man. I'm in.
Nice.
I'm in.
It looks awesome. I've been really wanting to get around to it. Now with all these reviews, I'm like, I gotta punt it again. So I'm hoping this year is the year I play it. But it's been in my collection for a while now. It's on Xbox. I'm like, I'll play it there then. And so I really want to get to it, man. But I'm glad to hear you like it. It looks so cool.
Yeah. Didn't think I would like it as much. And I purposely stayed away from all kind of spoilers. And I really digging the gameplay loop.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to get into it. It just looks like my kind of game. It's funny. The plot reminds me a little bit of, shout out to my anime fans here, like Jujutsu Kaisen, like this main character who is dying, but they make a pact with someone.
Yes.
And so it's like, you're going to keep me alive, but they're gradually take over.
That energy.
And so I haven't read ahead on Jujutsu Kaisen, so I don't know how it actually, I don't think it's over yet to my knowledge, like the manga run, but I'm curious how it ends because I'm like, oh, this MC is dead. But I get the same vibes from Ghostwire. It sounds like, this MC is dead by the end of the game. And I wonder if they go through with that.
Yeah, bro. And the last thing I want to give, the visual art style, the things that they are attempting to do with the world while you're moving through it, and it just changes reality on the fly. It's very matrixy. It's very ambitious what they're doing. And I want to give them credit for the attempt because I like the idea.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to try it out. That's a Game Pass pick of the week. And with that, we move on to our final question of the show. Mr. Moobs had a really fun one here as his first time writing, so I wanted to use it as we wrap up the show. Hey there, Dukes. First time writing in, big fan of the show and the content everyone at LSM puts together. Haven't touched an Xbox console since the 360, but I find your insight and love for everything gaming is what keeps me coming back each week, even with the Xbox spin on things. My question has to do with optional accessories that used to accompany games back in the day. With the recent release of the Battle Network remasters, I fondly remember the physical battle chips that could be purchased alongside the game, or even the ability to carry a Pokemon in a Pokewalker. Some could argue that this eventually led to the Toys to the Life fad, where they quickly lost steam with Disney Infinity, Lego Dimensions, Skylanders, etc. However, those initial examples felt like a nice incentive for those who truly enjoyed the games. Not forcing players to use them in order to play, but added a fun aspect to those that did have it. What are your thoughts? Is there still a market for these products outside of Amiibos? Would you like to see them return in some form? Are there any games you wished had some form of physical add-on, or is there a pitch for one that you think would have been cool? Keep up the great work, guys, and have a New Vegas 2 can't come soon enough kind of day, Mr. Moobs. Thank you, Mr. Moobs, for writing in. We appreciate it, and congrats on your first appearance on Defining Duke. You're 1 for 1, man, so keep it up. Cog, I thought this was a really fun one because I've never seen anyone outside of like my YouTube comment section when I specifically call it out, bring up the Battle Network battle chips. I still have, I don't know if they're in the other room right now, but I think they're at home in a drawer. Pretty much, do you remember Tamagotchi back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
This was pretty much Mega Man's attempt at a Tamagotchi. So they take this thing called the personal terminal, which funny enough is literally the back of my phone case. It's this thing here, right? And it's this device that holds Mega Man as a program in there. And so what Capcom did was they sold a personal terminal that you carry as a kid, and you could get Proto Man or Mega Man and you take care of them. But they also let you buy chips. And certain games, like I think Battle Network 5, I want to say, came with an exclusive chip. And so let's say there's like a slot here on the bottom of my phone where my charger is, like you could put a chip in because you could battle your friends, you could battle viruses that were trying to attack Mega Man or Proto Man. And so it was like this game within a game. Like it was, you didn't need it to play the actual handheld game, but it brought it to life. And it was so cool, man. Like if they weren't so much money, I would totally have one just to have, but they're so expensive. But the chips themselves, I somehow have all of those still. And they're so like, it's amazing seeing the thing in the game that they did beautiful illustrations on to see it come to life. So I just want to shout out Mr. Moobs for that more obscure callback. Because like, that's the thing that connected me with Battle Network. Like a lot of people will talk about the Pokewalker. You'll like put a Pokemon in there. And as you walk around, because Nintendo's all crazy about getting their fans outside, they're like, y'all gotta move, stop playing our games. And so you could load a Pokemon in there, and as you're like walking around, it's gonna gain XP. So you're like making progress while away from the game. I always love that kind of meta game in it, because like it's why I love Pokemon Go. It was really cool to just have that access and know progress is being made whenever. So with that in mind, are there any games that you think of with Toys to Life? Did Cog, come into that a little bit late, where he would have been creepy Cog at the park with some of these toys? Because like for me, my last one was Lego Dimensions. I played around with that. I thought that was the most fitting Toys to Life one. Like I didn't mess around with Skylanders and Disney Infinity, which seemed pretty cool, but like Lego Dimensions, bro, these were already toys. You put them on this little pedestal, you put them on in the game platform, and they just appear right before your eyes. I'm like, oh, this is so cool, man. So that was the last time I had any type of connection like that. That was, I think, end of high school or beginning of college. But I'm curious for you, is there anything that you would pitch, or you think there's still a place for that in the market?
It's interesting, right? Because I remember this kind of stuff. The only time I remember bending the knee last time was probably because of King, and it was Breath of the Wild. And I remember we were playing, like it was a big event. We all got our Switches. We were there. That was like probably the last day one console launch we've done together in a while. So we all there, we got our Switches, whatever. So I remember you get home and go, where you at? I'm at this part. Yeah. It's this fire world, or I'm off this part of the biome. And everybody's having their Breath of the Wild stories. It was such a movement. But I never forget, I was like, okay, how you got all these hearts and how you doing all this stuff? And then where's this wolf how you got a wolf? Where you found that? He was like, bro, the amiibo. Like, what are you talking about? What amiibo?
Such a king move.
Yeah, he was like, bro, I'm paying for this. I'm paying for the premium experience. Yeah. I got to get these amiibos, bro. And I'm like, are you serious? I said, you got a whole wolf that's helping you in combat? Mm-hmm. Like, that's crazy. There's some parts where I can use that kind of aggro. Yeah. And then, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, yeah.
Durability, bro.
Facts, right? So I'm like, bro, I went on a hunting spree for this thing. Then I ended up falling into a trap. I got like 4 or 5 of them joints. I was like, it started to become an addiction. And it is cool. Like I would get it, scan the Switch, and then you see it pop in, and you got how many uses per day. It became a thing. So I had to admit, the way Nintendo did it was cool, addictive. I think the only way you could get COG now would have to be like, for COGs like classic, like if Transformers, like I said, came out and they're like, yo, we got the Optimus Prime joint that you do. What? Yeah. If they touch my soul with certain characters or certain, they like also would be, I think me and Colin share this is, I'm a big G.I. Joe guy. So like the Storm Shadows, the Snake Eye, like those would get me. Like I bought the comic toy kind of thing. Those are the last of the thing. It would be specific to my heart, but yeah, there's a market for. I just don't know, long term, financially, does it make sense for these companies to invest in these kind of things? But I know there is a market for some of these, especially the cards and stuff like that. There's a market for it. So I'm curious. Well, would you? I mean, obviously you come from this, but I'm curious if it still has a place in this day and age. I'm very curious about that.
I wish it did. But I think it died from saturation too quickly. Like I will say one thing Bobby Kotick said was true. Like they had something with Skylanders and a lot of people just leapt on it right away and started doing it. Like what was the one? Starlink, I think. where Ubisoft did it.
I love that game. I love that game.
Yeah, I never played it, but I know that was like
that game was so good.
It was like the swan song to the Toys to Life type of game, right? And I think that was the sign it was going, because they had cool ideas. Like they let you get Star Fox's ship in there and stuff based off the toys or the amiibos. Like just a lot of cool stuff happening with that game. And I just don't think there is a place for it. I would welcome it, because I think that the video games, to me, if you've noticed with the things I like and the games I prefer, I like interaction. Like I like connection. And to me, when you can take the real world and put it into the game, or vice versa, take the game and put it into the real world in a creative way, you got me like easily. Again, it goes back to Pokemon Go. The idea, I take out my phone, I'm like, yo, that's Blastoise. Just, I look like a fool out there flicking my phone, but like it feels so real. I would welcome it, but I feel like as we move more into the digitization of games, that it's going to be more of the Pokemon Go style and less like the Battle Network approach. Probably saves them a lot of money too. And that's what sucks about, like, I think today's entertainment is the imagination is kind of fading. You can see it like even in commercials. Like it's like, just come on, just buy this shit, right? Like we know you want it. We're just here to remind you we exist. Like that energy feels kind of lost in today's day and age, and it's a bit of a bummer. But I would welcome it. I just don't think there is a place for it though, because I don't think there's a motivation from the higher ups to produce that type of stuff.
And that's probably the economic reality of it. The last thing I'll say is that I would say that I see more of the mobile companion as more of a transitionary thing. Continue what you did in the game here on our app that synergizes, in the cloud to the thing, and then you continue it that way, as opposed to the toy and stuff like that. I think it's just the way that the industry is trending.
Yeah, 100%. So great question, Mr. Moobs. Thank you everyone else for writing in. We appreciate you all. And with that is episode 119 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Certainly a very packed one with a lot to talk about. And we hope you all enjoyed. And we're looking forward to seeing your thoughts on everything we went through. Cog, I think this week's hashtag has to be 30 FPS DD. I think it's got to be.
It's got to be. Like I was going to say, if it's not 30, it's 60. It's one of the FPS. So 30, let's go.
So we got to go with 30 FPS DD. Got this deep. I'm at G27 status over on Twitter. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can tag both of us there. Let us know your thoughts again with the hashtag 30 FPS DD. Or you can go ahead and just write in the comments down below. Let us know your thoughts. I saw someone write in. I forgot to use it, so I apologize to who it was. But someone asked if we could use the hashtag as a way to take write-ins. That's Patreon only, just so people know moving forward. And it always has been. It's just our way to thank you, to notice that you've watched the show, to recognize that, to kind of interact a little bit further. And we love that. It makes our week. And it's just fun to see you all cracking jokes, out of context jokes, that type of stuff. So thank you for engaging with us. We appreciate it. Again, the hashtag is 30 FPS DD, whether it be Twitter, YouTube, however you care to engage. Let us know what you thought of the show. And with that, Cog, any closing thoughts as we wrap this one up?
No, fire episode, man. A lot to cover, major news, a lot of passion, but we got to tell the truth, man. We got to talk about how we feel and how the community feels. And this is what we do. We give smoke when needed as well. So a lot of people don't think we do this.
Give it time. We'll be reminded how we didn't. Give it time.
Oh, yeah. The ones that don't, they expose themselves because I know they don't listen.
Or we went too hard this episode. That's the other way it goes. So
that's the other. That's true.
We'll see how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, hashtag 30 FPS DD. And we hope you take decent care of yourself until next week's episode 120. But until then, peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Ebersley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.